everybody. Welcome to Frame Trap. This is a podcast where we talk about video games. We love video games most of the time. That's mostly what this podcast is. What it is today, however, is the E3 waiting room. It is a excitement-filled place where we talk to each other about hopes, dreams, and fears. With me today, nobody better to do that with than the hype man himself, down there at the end, Michael Huber.
Hello.
Next to him, balancing it out, I think, in some key ways, is Daniel Bloodworth.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like we're in this weird space where like we're talking before E3, but most people will see this like right in the middle of all these press conferences. Yeah. So there's going to be so much that they know that we do not know right now.
Right. We are guaranteed to sound like fools at least a little bit beyond the normal amount.
Or geniuses with our predictions.
Geniuses. We'll see. I would lean closer to fools than geniuses.
Me too.
I'm going to be conducting this train. I'm your host, Ben Moore. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. We got a lot of games to talk about that we didn't have Detroit on the last episode of Frame Trap. I'm excited to talk about Detroit and some other curious things. But before we get there, I want to ask you one question. And it's a big one. It's a loaded one to start the show off with. What do you think could be something just absolutely crazy that happens this E3 that has a realistic chance of happening? And by realistic, I mean 5%. He knows it immediately.
Phantasy Star Online.
So you're telling me years and years and years and years and years.
Yeah.
Sega's going to get out there and they're like, we're bringing it.
We're bringing it.
We're bringing it.
Whether that is Phantasy Star Online 2 randomly finally coming, or a brand new Phantasy Star Online, or even a remaster of some kind of Phantasy Star.
So there will be a Phantasy Star presence at E3.
Yes.
What is the % chance you think this is happening?
This is a solid 15%.
Okay.
More than 5.
What is building up that 15%?
Just been watching Sega's Twitter feed, you know, just feeling it, and just the hope that radiates off you, Ben Moore, the desire for Phantasy Star.
We're probably going to get into this with Capcom a little bit, but I feel the same way about Sega, where they seem to be a little bit more in tune.
Yeah.
Right, they're making some good decisions.
Yes,
they're handling Yakuza very well. I would say Valkyria Chronicles 4 looks to be the Valkyria Chronicles game that a lot of people want.
Yeah, Shenmue
Remaster coming out.
Yeah, Sega's back.
Maybe because of that, and the Sonic Tag Racing game, I think looks really cool. Team racing, not tag racing. Yeah, I'm playing cross tag battle.
I like Sonic Forces, like whatever.
You can like Sonic Forces. Sonic Forces, I had a good time with it.
Yeah, dude.
I had things to criticize, but I had a good time.
Lots of things to criticize.
I don't regret it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to be on my deathbed being like, I wish I wouldn't have played Sonic Forces. Blood, what do you think has a somewhat realistic chance of happening at E3 that would be crazy?
It'd be crazy. That's a hard one for me. Because going in, I was, before today, before they announced the Dead or Alive was happening, I was thinking like, maybe we would see something with Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah,
dude. We kind of heard some rumblings that's like, oh, maybe Ninja Gaiden might happen. You know? And now it's like, Dead or Alive is probably it. Yeah. That's probably all they're doing.
Dead or Alive 6 is exciting, though.
Yeah.
I think I'm excited to get my hands on it at E3. I'm not like a huge Dead or Alive guy, but I think Dead or Alive 5 was a better game than a lot of people realized, and we'll get into it with cross-tag battle, but fighting game story modes, not usually very good, in my opinion. They get old and boring really quickly. Dead or Alive 5 was genuinely hilarious. Like, there were moments where I'm like, really? They did that with that character in that way? It was very self-aware.
I haven't played much Dead or Alive, but I always remember feeling the blows. Feeling the hits.
They have really good hit sounds, like... Yeah, really good hit sounds, yep.
Feels good.
Good weightiness. I want to play that because you said that thing specifically. I really want to do just a couple of rounds with Michael Huber at Dead or Alive. And like the round ends, we just look at each other and that's what fighting games are about. to me. Just having fun with friends, the big smiles. But yeah, sorry, you were saying unrealistic thing.
Unrealistic thing. It's
that
hard
could happen.
It's hard coming up with unrealistic things because I keep thinking of things that are pretty realistic.
Yeah, and you're a realistic guy.
Yeah, it's like I would like to see, Infamous 1 and 2 come to the PS4,
Yes. That's a feel good.
That is a feel good pick right there.
Like that would be cool.
That's the kind of thing you say when you turn on your song of the summer. Like you click the button, you're like, I hope Infamous 1 and 2 come to PS4. Yeah.
Oh,
that's
and
good.
the Vampire one. Remember the
the
Vampire
DLC.
Infamous?
The DLC. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was
Festival
called.
of Blood.
Festival of Blood. What a good name.
Yeah.
What a good
Yeah,
name.
that would be a good one to go back to around Halloween.
Totally.
Mine, I really like, and I've been conditioned, I think, by the other allies to really like this, but I do really enjoy them. Like, even just downloading Pokemon Quest right when that announcement happened, I thought was exciting and fun. And I hope that there's something like that or like a PT at E3. And my hope is that there is some sort of playable teaser for Death Stranding. That Kojima gets out there and says, hey guys, I'm going to take you on a ride.
Yes.
And I don't think it's completely impossible.
I don't think it's completely impossible.
I think there is around a 5%, maybe even a 10% chance of that happening.
Ian and I were having a discussion that they could possibly have a prequel, TV show, web series, live action, because he loves movies.
Yeah. Right. Netflix series. I think we talked about this.
Even like just on YouTube or something.
Sure.
Like it doesn't have to be Netflix or something crazy, but
knowing Kojima and Death Stranding, it's gonna be like download the sequel to Death Stranding today. Like it's gonna be something just crazy. But those are feel good. Those are some feel good announcements. I teased Detroit. I teased BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. I'm excited to talk about those things. But the one I'm most curious about that I want to talk about first is Vampyr.
nice.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's funny because I still don't really know that much about this game.
I really wanted to get that review out before E3, but it's not going to happen.
Right.
But you know what you can do right now?
Talk about it.
You can take us there.
Exactly.
With your words.
Okay, so Vampyr is from Don't Nod. They did Remember Me and Life is Strange. And you are a doctor in 1918 London. And London is like ravaged by the Spanish flu. And half of the game is combat, which we'll get into, and the other half of the game is social interactions and building relationships. And I really, really like this game. I really, really like it. The biggest criticism right now from the internet and from myself is the combat. The combat feels kind of tacked on. It's very Souls-light style combat. You have your lock on and your dodge and you go in with the stamina gauge. So if you played a Souls game,
What do you attack with?
so you can get like different weapons. Like I have a doctor's hacksaw.
Okay.
You can get like two-handed weapons, like a spear type thing, or like a big spiked club. The combat is rough. The combat is very, very rough because for many reasons. The AI is they're not intelligent, very dumb AI.
When you say not intelligent, is it that they just attack without paying attention to what you're doing? They just stand there?
Both.
What is the degree
Sometimes
of
they'll
dumbness?
stand there. It's really easy to like pin them in a corner. If you get someone in a corner, like they're just kind of like, blah,
When you say pin them in a corner, the first thing I jump to that I always hate is when you have this combat and it's like, well, I can pretty much just apply the exact same strategy to everything throughout the entire game.
Yes.
Is Vampyr guilty of that?
Yes.
Dang.
Yeah. Like you have to dodge a little more sometimes. Sometimes there'll be like big style like werewolf things that you have to be a little more cautious with because the difficulty, really awesome. Again, I love this game. What's really cool is the difficulty is directly tied to how many people you want to feed on. Okay? So every district in this game, there's 4 main districts. There's like the docks, there's Whitechapel, there's like the hospital area, and West End, which is like the nice place. Each of these districts has a group of people. And these people all have like side quests tied to them, storylines. They get sick, so you have to craft medicine and cure them. You can discover hints by talking to them or finding things in the wild. The more you discover and the healthier they are, the more XP they will yield when you feed on them. So like, you know, a drunken bum is only going to be worth like a couple hundred XP, whereas like the main doctor is worth like a couple thousand, you know, so you can like pick and choose who you want to feed on. And I think that stuff really helps with the combat. So the combat is rough, but I'm a little more lenient towards it because I think the difficulty is really balanced. Like sometimes I'll get to a boss fight or a couple big enemies, and because I haven't fed on anyone, it's kind of tough. You know, I have to like kind of cheese it, kind of dodge around, like regen my health, kind of abuse my like heal abilities. So I really like that aspect of it, and the crafting I think is pretty solid. Like it takes a while to like craft up your weapons to higher levels. So there is that kind of like dopamine itch. Because random comparison, I think of Uncharted 4 and Last of Us. Okay, and I'm bouncing all over the place. I'm sorry, but Last of Us, you have the crafting, you can level up, right? Uncharted 4 didn't really have that, and I missed it. You know, it was nice not having to worry about it, and like you just run and gun, you go. But I always like, you know, kind of those RPG elements, like crafting, searching for supplies, doing the side quests, getting XP. And I think that stuff is really finely tuned. It's just unfortunate that the combat itself feels kind of weightless, and the enemies, you know, they're not that smart. So
you were talking about needing to feed in order to gather strength, but when you do feed on people, that puts you at greater risk.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that's something that you have to think about, and it's a constant decision. It's not something that you are necessarily making at very well-defined key points throughout the game. It's like, okay, as I'm playing, do I want this? Do I want that? And sometimes I'm sure you'll kind of doubt yourself, or you think you're doing the right thing, and then you'll go back to that. Has that been like kind of an interesting dynamic throughout Vampyr?
One of the biggest choices pretty early on is very interesting. There's a nurse, and she kind of sneaks away and does some, you know, it's all morally gray. Like she sneaks away and like steals supplies to go help the really sick and really poor people.
Right.
So the game gets really interesting because this isn't really. I don't want to go too much into it.
Yeah, don't get into spoilers.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get into spoilers. But you know, there's someone in charge of the hospital you work at, and that person is like the most interesting character in the game. And that person kind of says, hey, this doctor is stealing supplies, like, go stop the doctor. And then obviously you go to stop the doctor, and the doctor's like, yo, like, I'm just trying to help these poor people. So there's all these decisions there, and, you know, one thing leads to another, and you kind of can choose how you want to handle those situations.
And I think that's really cool.
Yes.
But you and I have made fun of the phrase morally gray. And when developers get really obsessed with being like, hey, you're going to have to make tough decisions, there's nothing wrong with that on its face. In fact, that's a very good thing to strive for when you have decisions that are difficult to make. I think the problem that I run into sometimes with games that are about choice is when you make everything morally gray, it feels really forced. Sometimes you run into a situation, you're like, no, this is just messed up and I know what to do, right?
Yeah.
Not everything is always complicated. Sometimes it's nice to have something simple and exciting and fast moving.
Totally.
Do you ever run into situations where you're like, okay, well now I gotta see every side of this? Is there too much of that? Does it feel a little forced? Or
I'd say there's a little too much morally gray, for sure. Because even like, there's this really abusive guy who takes advantage of everyone, but then he's like using the money to kind of like help other people. So it's all like no one is just like pure evil or pure good. Like even the doctors like themselves are kind of, you know, bending the rules here and there to kind of help people on the other side. So like it still makes me think though, and makes me question. And I think that's a success.
Sure.
And I think it's just really cool. Like the hospital is kind of the biggest indoor environment, and you always go back there. That's kind of your hub and your home base, you know? And it's cool, like, doing your rounds as the doctor, you know? Like, you'll go out on a quest, you'll come back to the hospital, and just the atmosphere in this game is so absorbing. I get so sucked in, the lighting, the foggy streets. Like, I've thought in my brain nightmare creatures, like, 17 times, seriously. So it's just really cool, like, coming back from a long quest and, like, going to sleep, waking up, and like making all these medicines and just like doing your rounds. Like, oh, hey, doctor. Because like even if you cure people of illness, like they get sick, they still get sick. Like some other illnesses will happen. So it's about like maintaining that in each district, which is really cool. And the decisions you make obviously will impact an entire district's health. So if you take out a doctor, like they're going to be shorthanded. That's going to affect it. So everything non-combat related in this game is just fantastic.
Cool.
Yeah.
You talked about things having a later effect, and I always love it when you get to like the end of the game and some random dude that you talked to or maybe just did a little tiny test for, he's like, oh, hey, thanks. You know, it's extremely unexpected. It's not always like the big decisions. Sometimes it's the small ones that come back in really cool ways. Does that happen in Vampyr where you'll get a little nod to a tiny thing?
Yes.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, I was wondering though, so because you were talking about the decisions of feeding on people or not. Like, is there sort of incentive to feed on as little people as possible? Is there like somebody that if you need to try to avoid people finding you out? Is there that kind of element to you?
Yeah, like nobody. Okay, this is all early in the game. It's not a spoiler. Like one person knows you're a vampire. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
So you're kind of like working with that person to kind of figure out what is happening because you don't know who made you. So there's this big mystery. You wake up as a vampire, you start feeding, you're like, what is happening? What am I? You meet up with this person and then you have to work together to kind of figure out the mystery of it all. And it's a really good mystery. It's super perfectly paced. The only problem with the storytelling I have is sometimes, because I love doing side quests, if you open up all the side quests for me, I'm doing them all immediately. Like, that's just how I play games, check off all the side quests, get it done. So I'll go off on, like, do all these quests for, like, 3-4 hours, use all these crazy vampire powers, like, biting people, getting all crazy, and then I'll go back and do a story beat. And, like, and there's just kind of an inconsistency there where the main character will be like, like, I don't know what this is, or like,
oh sure, yeah.
What have I become? And it's like, yo, you were just out killing. Like,
right.
There's kind of a disconnect there. Also,
I spent 5 hours doing this.
Yeah. And
sure.
also, like, there was a side quest where like I got a handkerchief and I gave it to this person, and it's like, yo, here's your handkerchief. Like, I know you were missing this, but it was the end of the side quest without the beginning. Like, I had not met the person yet, but I found the quest item, so I gave the person the quest item. Quest completed, and then the dialogue option was like, hey, do you need any help? Yeah, I lost my handkerchief.
Oh, they don't really account for it well.
So yeah, it's just some inconsistencies there.
You do get some of those kind of opportunities in games like Deus Ex, but yeah, like
Deus Ex smartly, like addresses it.
Yeah,
this didn't.
And I think you even get rewarded for one of them. And it was like, shit, you got this thing without anybody asking it.
Yeah, totally.
I think it's very commendable when a game can go out of its way to kind of wrap it all together. But at the same time, that's something I'm usually pretty forgiving about.
Totally.
There's always the joke that, like, hey, I have to save the world, and then you let me run around and do 20 hours of side quests.
Yeah, Gwent.
The reason I'm forgiving with it, though, is that's a decision that you chose to make.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, we want to have this intense story, but we've also created this entire world that we want to explore.
Totally,
and we want to give you the freedom to go through it as you please. And a lot of times for me, it's like, if you're giving me an increase in the way that I can play and wrap it around myself, then I'll give you more slack when it comes to contextualization and urgency and that sort of thing.
And like, the game is just, it's such a great story and world, and like, I see so many complaints about the combat. Like, this game's terrible, this game's trash. And it's like, dude, it's doing really interesting and cool things and telling a great story. So I'm a little more forgiving of an aspect of the game if the other aspects are great.
Yeah, Vampyr to me, and I hate when these kind of games come through the door, where there are a lot of games when you're evaluating them, it's very easy to kind of take a holistic approach because, like, State of Decay 2 is a good example for me, where the structure of the game impacted my enjoyment of everything else, where, like, the good things had kind of this effect that influenced everything, and the bad things kind of had an effect that influenced everything. But then I think of something like Deadly Premonition, right, where the combat is terrible.
Yeah.
The driving is terrible. The open world is hilariously empty and bland and doesn't look very good and all this stuff. But I feel like you can take like a knife and just cut all that stuff and put it to the side and be like, listen, yes, I acknowledge that that's there, but this other stuff is so worth paying attention to that the badness of this stuff isn't really influencing your enjoyment of this other stuff. And that's what it sounds like Vampyr is.
Yes.
Like, I'm not saying that you're enjoying the combat or you're completely ignoring it, but the other stuff is so good that it's not as much of a factor as it would be in other games.
And I'm getting that dopamine itch of like finding crafting materials, leveling up, because the XP is really... Like, honestly, I think it's really well done. I think it is finely tuned. That stuff is so easy to get out of hand in video games and open world games. And it's like every time you talk to someone and get new dialogue, like that's giving you a little bit of XP, a little bit. You find documents, you get just a little tick. You do a side quest, you get another little bump. Like, it feels like it's a nice pace of leveling up powers because you can level up your health and stamina. Your vampire powers take a lot of XP to level up, but they're so strong. And you get like your claws, and like one of the biggest letdown moves was the leap. I thought it was gonna be some sick like Left 4 Dead stalker like like leap thing, and it was just like he kind of just like mists, like not even mists over it, just kind of like disappears and like reappears in front of the person standing there, even though the move is called like leap. It was weird. I was let down, and I was like,
You just made me think that I would love for a Michael Huber designed action game or fighting game. Like, you need to be the guy that they put in charge of being like, what's the fatality for Scorpion this time? Yeah. I think you'd do an excellent job at it.
So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Review should be going up, after E3 sometime. Sorry I didn't get up in time, but I'm enjoying my time with it. And, my mantra is swimming in sevens. Right. Like, I've played a lot of bad video games. And when people say that this combat is the worst ever, the worst of all time, absolute gutter trash, like, to me, honestly, it's not great. But to me, it's serviceable. It's middle of the road. It's not broken. It's not absolute trash or the worst of all time. Like, it's not good, but it passes. It's serviceable. It's fine. But you have this really cool like bite move too, because there's like they have a stamina meter also. Yeah. So you can like dual wield like a hacksaw and like a stake, and the stake
that just sounds awesome.
It's right. It's just cool, dude. Awesome. Yes. Yeah. It's just cool. I've got my hacksaw and my stake, and you like hit them with the stake, and their stamina goes down, and then you have this like split second to grab them and bite them, and that will give you blood, and then you use the blood for your special moves. So all of the like mechanics are sound and great. It's just the execution on, hitting enemies, their AI.
What are enemies? We haven't even really got into that.
Super, super lesser vampires.
Okay.
They're called like Skull. They're basically vampires that have been like Left 4 Dead, basically. Because to turn into a vampire, vampire mythology, it's all about like siring someone and like them drinking blood from you. So the mystery is great. The vampire lore is great. Good stuff.
If there was a Vampyr 2, would you expect the same sort of problems that you see in Vampyr 1? Do you think there's enough there that they could really make this an interesting...
Part of my brain, because of the history of Don't Nod, right? Life is Strange kind of pulled them out of the gutter. Yeah. They were going to go out of business, basically. And Life is Strange, like, saved them. Part of my brain thinks that the combat itself was added on and that this entire game was going to be more like Life is Strange, like just a bigger open world, but like no combat necessarily. Like it does kind of feel tacked on, because I imagine this like more adventure style game where, you know, there's no combat, but each kill is a huge deal. So that's why I think it feels rough. I think it is kind of bolted onto the game. You know, that's just me theorizing. Who knows what they set out to do initially. But if they did a sequel, you know, I think all the criticism online, I think they're well aware that their combat is not up to snuff. So, you know, if somehow this game did get a sequel, I have faith that they could nail it.
You really fell in love with Don't Nod, at least from my understanding, with Life is Strange.
And Remember Me.
And
yeah, before, because you worked at Game Shows before me, and then I came, and then you came back. In that kind of like window when
that was the Remember Me time.
Yeah, that was the Remember Me time.
Okay.
And I remember Bloodworth was reviewing it, right?
No, I went to
Justin Spear
Paris for the preview with Rich. But yeah, I guess maybe Justin. I don't know who actually did the review.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, Remember Me. I remember them playing in the back. I was like, this game looks so cool. And it was, you know, rough around the edges, but they do interesting, cool things and make worlds that I want to be in.
Absolutely. I mean, just look at that. Look at Remember Me. You've got this really cool, sleek sci-fi world. You've got Life is Strange, which has many elements of the supernatural, but is about how relatable these characters are and how relatable the situations they're going through. And then you have, I think, kind of those same relatable characters in Vampyr, but put in a much more gruesome world.
Yeah.
And just how many things they're able to do, and it seems like you are extremely enthusiastic about all of them.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like whatever Don't Not does, you have faith that they can go in all these different directions. It's not like you just want one thing.
It's like all those studios, man. It's like High Moon Studios did the Transformers and Deadpool games, and it's like, they're so rough, but I just enjoy them, you know? It's, you know, and I think of Ninja Theory as well.
Yeah.
You know, they had rough with Heavenly Sword and Enslaved, but I love these studios that don't have infinite resources, that are just trying to do interesting stories that they are clearly passionate about. You know, you feel the passion.
So when you get a situation like a High Moon or a Don't Nod as a reviewer, right? You want people to play these games. You think these games are worthy of talking about on a podcast, of streaming, of reviewing and evaluating. We live in a really crowded world where there's all we do is play video games. I feel like all we do is play video games, and there's so much we miss because just the space is so crowded. And so when you're giving that game a 7, does that fill you with some apprehension or some guilt where you're like, man, I hope I'm sending the right message here?
Yeah, it's hard. You know, I hope just people read the words, you know, and listen to it, because it's like, sure, you know, the game is, I haven't scored it yet, but it's probably, you know, around 7. It's got some problems, you know?
Right.
And I have to be objective. I have to put that reviewer cap on and say, look, like, this is a problem here, but.
Right.
But.
But you're also being fair with yourself. You're not letting your love of something overshadow the flaws. But it's crazy, and I don't think enough people know that 7 is the best score we can give.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Like, if you're striving for that 7.
Right. If you see a 9 or 9.5, actually less than a 7 on our scale. It's a confusing scale.
I know.
Speaking of games that look sick, Blood, I was watching Giant Bomb do a quick look of this, and I was like, this game looks like so much fun. Blood, you've been posting in Slack and on Twitter screenshots of this game very early in the morning, so I think you're having a good time too. And that game is Onrush.
Yeah, man. So good.
Moving on.
It's actually kind of funny because I don't want to get like too into like where my score might end up, but it's like I saw you know, even though I couldn't get my review, I'm in the same situation as Huber. Like, these things came to us so late, and I'm so swamped with E3 stuff that it's like I want to get it done, but I can't. But like, I saw those review scores go up, and I'm like, what are you knuckleheads doing? That's kind of my feeling.
The Bloodworth call it. What are these scores these knuckleheads are giving?
They just felt like lower than what I was feeling, you know. And it's, you know, and there's always people that are lower on the scale, of course, but I was just like, where's the high end? Where are they at? You know.
Yeah.
So But then GameSpot recently came out and gave it a 9. So it's like, all right, GameSpot, good job.
Blower's got a list. GameSpot is in the good part of that list. I think it's important to explain Onrush, though.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
it's not a racing game in the traditional sense.
Right. It's what's funny is I don't know if you've followed my previews or what we've talked about before with I kind of relate it to Trailblazers, which I just reviewed like not too long ago. And really liked the concept, but kind of the execution didn't pan out too well. But it's funny because I feel like Onrush in some ways has the same goals as Trailblazers, but it like just nails it. But of course, like they're a huge team with a lot of experience compared to the like Trailblazers, like 3 dudes. But yeah, so what I mean by that is like they are doing like reinventing like what it means to be a racing game in a way. And they're focusing on team play and co-op play. And Onrush does both of those things really well. The funny thing that like why it's so hard to explain Onrush is because there's not just like this one like base thing that, okay, this is just Onrush, because there are like 4 different modes and each of those modes plays very differently.
Right, and they're all really clever. Yeah.
And so the one thing that the kind of central hook that makes it work is so you have different objectives. You're not just like trying to be first. You're not trying to be first place ever. And actually, like if you fall behind, like you'll be picked up and like put back into the pack. And so you're doing more or less like laps just constantly. Because you're trying to accomplish these other goals while you're doing laps. And so the first mode that the single player introduces you to is Overdrive. And that kind of seals the central mechanic, and it's really all about boosting, and it's all about takedowns.
Burnout style.
Yeah. So very much like Burnout or like F-Zero X Death Race. Like it's... you take out, they have fodder vehicles on the track, and you take out fodder vehicles and you do jumps and you do barrel rolls and you do tricks, and all of those things give you boost. And when you boost, and depending on your vehicle, when you do other actions, that fills a second meter, which is the rush meter. And once you get rush, then it like you just light up like a freaking comet, and you blast forward and you smash through anyone that's in your way, and there's like this freaking metal scream going on. Like
is it okay when you say metal scream? Is it like the yeah, or is it like the
exactly that? No, it's a high pitch.
It's a high pitch. Okay,
yeah.
Nice.
Perfect. And
merciful fate scream.
And each vehicle has its own abilities as well that go into that, and I'll get into the vehicle classes a little bit later. But so what Overdrive is all about is about boost. And so when you're playing an Overdrive match, you're trying to get everyone on the team to like get to like that, what I think is like 10,000 point score of boost. So you're trying to constantly boost. And so like if somebody takes you out, then it's like I'm not boosting. I'm like not, I'm not adding to that score. And then so much of the game like just feels really, really good. There's this mechanic to where, so when you jump in the air, you can slam down and crush somebody under you.
Dude, the motorcycle's like crushing them.
Yeah.
Looks awesome.
But one of the motorcycles has like this like earthquake kind of effect to like knock people off balance around it, and so you can take people out that way. But you can even crush people with motorcycles. And it's great because if you let off the boost for a bit, like you can hang in the air for a bit. But then if you push the boost in the air, then you'll slam down harder.
That's awesome.
And if you wait till you touch the ground, then you'll get like a faster boost, like when your wheels hit the ground. So there's like a lot of these little nuances and stuff like that.
That's good.
And then the other 3 modes are all completely different than Overdrive. So again, Overdrive is about constantly boosting. Then there is Countdown, which is like the precision mode. So they have like these little gates, like green lines kind of like flying through rings in Star Fox kind of thing. So you're trying to weave through all the gates, and I'm not 100% sure on like how the scoring works, but basically. So what's happening is you go through gates to add to your time. So both sides have clocks ticking down. And so whoever gets to 0 first loses. And so you're hitting those gates to add time back to your pool.
Sure.
And I think the way it works is that whoever gets through the gate first gets more time than the people behind them. Because once somebody goes through a gate, then it starts expanding and it gets easier to go through. But then again, it's like you're wanting to hit gates, but you're also wanting to do things to like knock other people off track. So like the one of the bikes has like a trail of fire that shoots out behind it when you're in rush, and that is so good for countdown. And as a bike, it's harder to survive, but if like you're going through those gates, everyone else is lining up right behind you to try to get through those gates. So you just light them on fire and take them out, and then they have to wait for that little respawn cycle.
In what you've described so far, it sounds like such a good time when you find that flow and you're doing well and you're crushing people and you've got this trail of fire behind you. I guess the thing that could be frustrating, or it sounds like it could be frustrating in my mind, is in a game that is about getting this flow and keeping this momentum.
Yeah.
When that momentum breaks, or you're not doing well, or something bad happens in the middle of a race, is it easy or possible even to catch back up and have a good time again? Or are there moments where you mess up so bad and it's like, well, I lost this one, or I should restart?
I think that because it's a team-based thing, that's not as much of a big deal. You know, it's like you're part of a group. You're trying to get in, you know, and contribute.
Right. Not all on you.
But it's very much not all on you. I definitely have had like those strings where it's like, man, like I just respawned and then some guy was just in the right spot to take me out as soon as I was vulnerable, or I respawned and like I was in a weird angle and I like hit a wall. So that kind of stuff can happen. But it is one of those games where it's like when you get taken out, you're just like you're just waiting for that timer. It's like I want to get back into the mix. Also, what's really cool is when you get taken out, sometimes certain events will restrict you to specific vehicles.
Yeah.
But most of the time, you can just swap vehicles like right in the middle of a match.
Wow.
So to any of the other vehicles. So you don't like if you feel like this isn't working for me right now, or we need to mix up like what's happening on our team. Yeah. Like you can just do that as soon as you get taken out. And then so the other two modes, there's one called Lockdown, which is basically like a moving King of the Hill.
Rad.
So you've got this zone that opens up, dude, and is like going along in front of the pack.
Is it like a big semi truck that's the zone, or is it just a
no? It's just
circle?
like a big green circle.
Okay.
But then like when a team gets into it, then whoever's got the most vehicles in that circle, it starts awesome. Filling up. And it's like, all right, you got to capture that zone, and then somebody else comes in and like knocks you out, or you go a little bit too fast and you get ahead of it, or you start slowing. You don't get enough boost and you start falling behind. And so it's like you really got to like maintain where you're at in that zone, but you're also like trying to knock people out of it and trying to defend your people.
Does this mode have a metal scream?
Well, that always happens when you rush.
Okay, always. Yeah. Okay,
that's
great.
Just part of the basic mechanics.
I thought it was tied to that mode that you described earlier.
No. That's just hitting the rush button.
So that's always with me.
Yes.
I think that deserves an entire point in the review.
It really does. Like the music implementation.
Sounds like a 7, man.
The music implementation all around is super good. Super polished.
Yeah.
Because they've got a lot of songs, some songs in there that you recognize from different genres and stuff. But it's not like, so like most racing games like Need for Speed or whatever, they'll just have a playlist, right?
Yeah.
And it'll pop up and they'll play the song and it'll go on to the next song. With Onrush, it's like they just took the best parts of each of these songs. Like this part is great. Okay, let's do this, and then I'll mix into whatever the next thing is, and it just like always just keeps that energy up.
Yeah.
And then and it also like mixes in really well to where like if you just hit a jump really high, like that music will like kind of fade out a little bit, when you hit pause, the music doesn't just stop. It like does like a record kind of like a tape slowdown kind of thing. It just boom.
That's really cool.
What's the progression like? Or is there like a Grand Prix or unlockables?
Let me get I'll get to that in a second. Let me get to the last couple of things first on these modes. Lockdown, capturing the zones. That's probably one of the easiest ways to see how like your team dynamics work, because there are sort of support classes in a way. So there's one called Dynamo that while you're rushing, you like send out boost to your teammates.
Cool.
There's one of the heavier vehicles called Titan, which shields your teammates so that like they won't be taken out as easily. And also when they rush, they lay down these blockades that slow down people behind you. And then the most annoying one to be behind is the Enforcer.
Enforcer.
And when it's rushing, anyone that's like kind of like in that cone behind it in its wake, they get blinded. Their screen gets all blurry.
Whoa.
So it's like you're just like trying. Okay, and so the thing is that like like you're stuck in this weird position of I need to get out of this cone, but I don't. If I move outside of it, then I might hit a tree or something. But so like you're encouraged to like kind of I'm just gonna follow the guy in front of me. The guy in front of you is the guy that's blinding you. So you're just gonna stay blinded longer. So it's like, what do I do?
It sounds like a more effective version of getting ink on your screen.
Right.
Mario Kart.
Yeah. So that's where like the most team dynamics really kind of come into play with Capture the Zones. And then the last mode, which I think is really cool, is called Switch.
I think this mode is awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, you have 3 switches, essentially 3 lives. But when you lose all your lives, you don't just die. And so you start with bikes, then you move up to your light vehicles, then your mid vehicles, and your heavy vehicles. And so both teams, like, everyone has 3 switches.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to take out all the other team's switches, and you're trying to survive as long as you can.
So you start as the bike and then work your way up?
Yeah, like every time you get taken out, you move up to the next thing.
Okay.
And so then once
it's
you
a gun game, dude.
So then once you get
straight up.
Once you get to the heavy, then okay, you don't have any lives left, so the only thing left for you to do is to take out the other team.
Awesome.
So before that, like when you're on the bike, just don't even try to take people out. Just stay away, stay surviving as long as you can. And then, so I don't know if I would call it progression, but what they do is after every match, there are rewards. And so like you get all these medals for different actions. And like one of the things is like, how long did you survive as a bike, And so they'll have, on each team, they'll start off with like, there's an MVP. So like this is the person that did like the most, contributed the most to the team. And then they'll show like 2 other categories. And so they'll like show a person from each team that was like, okay, this is the person that like gave the most boost to their teammates. This is the person that survived the most as the bike. And then underneath they'll like compare like, oh, how did you do to that? Compared to them. But in terms of like overall progression, and this might be one of the things where other reviewers knocked it, because it's not like a progression-based multiplayer game. Yeah. Like, especially right now, because right now the only thing that's available is quick play. Ranked is going to happen in a few weeks.
Okay, they'll have like seasons and
after,
stuff. Yeah.
After like everyone's comfortable and all the servers are good and everything, then they're going to move into ranked play. It's kind of like what Splatoon did. It really, a lot of ways, feels like Splatoon, to where it's like let's get everyone familiar with this weird new thing, and then we'll like introduce the more hardcore stuff. Because I think that this is going to be really, really interesting when people like start actually forming teams.
Yeah.
Like when you actually, because right now like you just match with whoever. But like when you're actually deciding like who's gonna be heavy, who's gonna be a bike, who's gonna do this.
I want to be on the Bloodworth team.
Yeah.
Who's gonna be
the charge blood.
The charger. There's the charger's pretty cool because it's all about taking guys out.
Oh yeah.
So when you rush, like you just smash through people. They call it bulldozing people.
Huber, you mentioned gun game.
Yeah.
We're talking about GoldenEye there, and
Counter-Strike.
Sorry, there's a isn't there a mode in GoldenEye where you cycle through guns, or am I completely making that up?
You might be making it up.
I might be making it up.
I know you're thinking of Counter-Strike.
I probably am thinking of Counter-Strike. Yeah, I was thinking of GoldenEye. I'm like, yeah, when you keep cycling through guns.
Yeah.
But no, that's a Counter-Strike thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
All
love that. Oh, it's so cool.
When was the last time you played gun game?
Like 15 years ago, but now I want to.
I think the last time I probably played gun game in Counter-Strike, it was like 2007. I think would be the latest year that would have had a chance. Anyway, just wanted to bring up really quick. I think it's so rare these days to get excited about modes.
Yeah.
Like I think in quite a few genres, but shooters come to mind. When they announce these shooters, it's like you know exactly what to expect. There's probably going to be a deathmatch, a team deathmatch, a capture the flag, King of the Hill. I feel like there are very few games that have modes that are exciting and sound fun and creative on their own. And that's so cool that Onrush, like you're just describing these different ways that you can play, and it's like, well, it's taking elements from these other things, but it's kind of its own unique beast, and I think that's really awesome.
So there is a progression system, to get back to what you're asking, but it's really all cosmetics based.
Perfect.
So it's like you level up, and you do get like little loot crates, but it's all like
bumpers.
There's like what's actually really cool is there's 8 classes or 8 different vehicle types. But the cosmetics on them like can make each vehicle look really different, like completely different shells, different paint jobs, and all this stuff that you unlock.
Perfect.
And then there are also there's a bunch. I don't know how many drivers. I think 12 drivers, 12 different drivers. And so when you get to that results screen at the end, they're all doing these like goofy little awkward dances.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because it's just gotten me to dance along with them. You know, when we get to the end of the race.
How crazy are the car customizations? Because you're talking about
you're not really customizing.
I mean, you're taking different shells, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, like, how outlandish is that getting? That's really the point, because when you have these things that you have flames coming out of them and you're distorting vision, I want a visual to go along with that.
Yeah, I mean, there's the basic ones are just like different colors, like ruby or whatever, and then there's a lot of them that like just have these like really like detailed, like intricate, like portraits across them that kind of look like like almost like something like you would expect from like a tattoo.
Okay.
And then. There are also there are tombstones that you unlock as well, and those are like run across the board. There's like a little like bomb emoji and like sad face or like fairies and like little like.
And are these what happen when you get taken down?
So when you get taken down, you leave this little like pixely tombstone on the ground, and when other people hit the tombstones, they get boost from hitting tombstones as well. But of course, if you died by like hitting a wall, like someone that like lures somebody back into that wall a little bit.
What is the best tombstone in Daniel Blower's opinion? That is either the funniest or
that's the thing. Like I haven't really found a super favorite one yet.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that are like there's a chicken. Let's go with the chicken.
Okay.
Because you just leave a little pixely chicken on the course.
Does it make any sort of sound?
No, it's just there.
It's just there. Is it adorable or is it gross, or is it just
it's not gross? No, it's just like kind of almost like a Zelda looking chicken,
Okay.
And then
I'm picking the chicken, I guess.
And then they have what like the banners for your name, like Tekken. It's like those banners where your name pops up.
So it seems like there's a lot of
and when you get to the higher level ones, like when you do a lot of things with a certain vehicle or whatever, then you unlock animated versions of those banners.
Cool.
So
those are always fun. Like Black Ops and Call of Duty has those. So.
Black Ops has gun game.
Yeah. Yep.
Black Ops has gun game.
Yep.
Man.
What's also
that upsets me, Huber.
It's fine.
The courses are also
it's a busy week, man.
The courses are also all really cool. I can definitely see some people feeling like some of them are a little similar to the others, but
how many courses are there?
There's 12 courses.
Okay.
Dang.
And like there's a couple of beaches. There's like this golf course that you go across.
Is there a mountain stage?
There's some mountainy stuff in there. There's actually like kind of like a ski lodge kind of stage. And then there's like a refinery. One of the ones I like is there's a dam, and so like you kind of jump into the dam and like kind of go across like the inside of it and then pop back out.
Are there sewers?
No sewers. Oh, actually, the dam does have like some just like quick little like some of those pipes.
Okay.
That you can hop through the pipe real quick.
All right.
But there's a lot of different like alternate like paths to take in them. There's like a rail yard. But what I really, really think like might go underappreciated with these courses, because like you are, you know, like you're running that same course over and over again, like even in just one match, you're just like you're doing the loop. But they seem to have like realized that like, oh yeah, this could get old really fast, and so these courses are very dynamic. Like they go from like day to night as you're going. Like weather will pop up and you start getting like thunderstorms. The thing that like really kind of blew my mind is I got to a point of the single player campaign where it said it was snow themed. I'm like, snow, cool. And I started the first race and like, this is just like the same desert track. There's no snow here. And then I get to the second lap and like snow is like starting to settle on the ground. It's like it's progressively getting snowier as the race goes on. Like what the heck? Like that's a lot of work to put into a course.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's so great.
Man, I don't want to make my expectations too high because then you only set yourself up for disappointment. But Onrush kind of sounds like it is not a Burnout successor. That's unfair to categorize it that way. But what I loved about Burnout was the energy it had, and the creativity and the way that it felt. And I always appreciate kind of more lighthearted takes on racing games. And Forza Horizon is kind of that, but it doesn't have that same looseness and sense of chaos in the same way that Burnout does. And this totally feels like it has that. Like everything that you're describing is what I feel like I've kind of been pining after.
Yeah, I mean,
for a while.
stuff is just smashing and colliding all around you. You know, you're just trying to blast through people. Like people are spinning. You know,
right, and the way that you just did that right there in that moment and then that second, and then the way that you were describing the metal scream and the flame coming out of behind the car and the distorting of the vision and just how excited you are to go into detail about these modes, that excitement is what is so captivating about this. Like you're not even, what I love a lot of times when you describe games is it's like, well, it's kind of like this or it's taking that element from here, and I feel like you're just kind of describing the awesomeness of Onrush on its own terms without needing to compare it to every other thing, which is really, really cool.
Yeah. I mean, I was like up to 6 a.m. multiple nights this week playing it, and not because I just wanted to get to review them. And just like, I can do a little more. Yeah.
That is awesome.
One more.
So it's like I think the main criticism for this game is going to be kind of like where Drive Club was. Well, Drive Club actually had huge launch issues, but like MotorStorm or Splatoon, where it's like, oh, there's maybe not enough content here, but like Drive Club and Splatoon, like there is content coming. Like this is a game that's going to keep adding stuff. So I'm very curious to see what they keep adding down the line.
How clear have they been with that? With the content is coming? Is it just like a kind of a general statement? Do we have a time frame?
I think the only thing that I personally know about, I don't know how much they've shared with the community. The only thing I'm aware of is like, that ranked play is coming in a few weeks.
Yeah.
And that similar to Drive Club, like they have a content rollout plan for free content on the way.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Blood, I think you made an excellent case for Onrush. I have a game that, to be completely honest with you, I wasn't that excited about. I mean, I was excited for some very basic reasons. I like Arc System Works games a lot. I like BlazBlue. I like Persona, especially. But I've never played Under Night at all. I don't really have any attachment to Ruby characters. And the game that I'm talking about is BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. And the more that I played the beta and I was like, wait a minute, there's something here. And then playing the full release, I'm getting more and more into it. And I was doing some online matches last night. And whether I won, whether I lost, just the energy of it, the excitement, how well it was running, how much fun I was having with the characters. I didn't stay up until 6 a.m. I stayed up till 3 a.m. But I wanted to keep playing. I didn't want to wake up and go do this podcast because I was having so much fun. And what BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle is, to give it a summary, is it's a 2-on-2 tag battle game, which means you pick two characters and you can mix and match from the different series. And what is very, very, very cool about cross tag battle is it really encourages you to use your partner as much as possible. And so every partner has 3, and it's so good because there's a lot of universal traits that all the characters have. Everybody has a reversal, everybody has a reversal that they can do that's done the exact same way. You do the assists for everybody in the exact same way. A lot of the supers are pretty much the same motions throughout all the characters. A lot of the special moves are the same throughout all the characters, and they're taking these characters from all of these different games, from Persona 4 Arena, from BlazBlue, from Undernight. That all those games have very different mechanics, and they've melded them all together and they've combined them. And they've made those mechanics that are unique to those games work under this new system in a way where all of the characters feel really distinct and exciting, but they're easy to understand. And they're even though you're doing the same motions and you're doing a lot of the same execution, you're getting different things that come out of them. And so my complaint in a way about Dragon Ball FighterZ, right, which is a 3-on-3 tag battle game where you can call in assists and stuff. And Dragon Ball FighterZ is great. I loved it. You can go watch that review and see why I loved it exactly. And I praised a lot of the same things where it was like, okay, things are easy to do and it's fun and it's exciting and flashy. And the characters are definitely different. They have unique attributes. But I felt like my general strategy was kind of the same. It's like, okay, knock them up into the air, do a combo, knock them down into the ground, follow up with a super. In BlazBlue, I feel like even though there are all of these universal traits between these characters, I'm not doing the same thing. Bringing in a different team means a completely different strategy, which is really, really cool. And to get back to the assists and working as a team, they're mechanics that feel super smartly designed. And it's like they could have just made a tag battle game that we've seen a bunch before, but they've gone out of their way to add things that make it really exciting and fun and interesting and clever. And as you use assists, you sort of build up this bond with your partner, and there are 4 levels to it. And then when that partner dies, the names get a little bit crazy, and it sounds more complicated than it is, but when your partner dies, you get something called Resonance Blaze. And you get insane chip damage, you recover red health super fast, and your meter that you use for a bunch of things like super moves will automatically regenerate. But you can get more meter if you had been using your partner. So if you've been really aggressive about getting them out there and doing assists and trying to call them out a bunch so you can stay on the offense, when that partner dies and you can activate Resonance Blaze, you're going to see a bigger payoff. You're going to be more powerful. And that's something
This feels like the fighting game version of Ornstein and Snow.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. There's a comparison there, I think, that works. Yeah. Totally. And it makes it exciting as somebody on the other end. Like, let's say you're doing really well, you got to be like, oh, wait, what is their Resonance Blaze going to be at? Like, am I going to be able to deal with it when they go into that mode? Like, how both offensively and defensively, it's something that you really have to think about, which is cool. And I think overall, those elements combine to make a game where, because a lot of the basic execution is so simple, and because you're so encouraged to be aggressive with your partner, it creates a really offensive game overall. Like, you need to get in there and mess up your opponent. And the damage in this game is insane. Like, there have been times where it's like, oh, it's over, just because you went on some crazy tear. And you have so many
match,
like 15, 20 second matches.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
20 seconds, I would say, around there. And even if you're not somebody that is like, okay, well, that all sounded really confusing, and I'm not sure, if those mechanics translate to fun to me. Another element that I've appreciated BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle is, do you remember when you first encountered really big series like Soul Calibur or Tekken or Street Fighter, and you kind of just fell in love with the character because of how cool they were? Well, in BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, yeah, like Scorpion, because you're just like, this guy just looks cool, and the way that they've interpreted this character mechanically is really fun. Like, the first time you throw out Scorpion's hook, you're like, oh man, I need to do that 100 more times. I kind of have that sense in BlazBlue Cross-Tag Battle. I have no experience with Undernight. I have no experience with Ruby. But Ruby, the main character from the show, she's this girl that has this giant scythe that is also a gun. And she's just, the sprite is so gorgeous and the animations are so gorgeous that when you're going through and you're doing these huge swings and you're cutting them up in the air and then you're blasting them with the gun, I'm kind of just falling in love with this character the way that I fell in love with the Scorpion, where it's just like, you look so cool and it's fun to do, and Arc System Works, you're so good at presenting like visually exciting moves that feel good and are fun to do and feel rewarding to pull off. Like just doing just attacking with the scythe. On the third hit, you knock them up in the air and you can do this crazy air combo where you come down on them, and it's really fun, it's really loud, it's really flashy. And sometimes with fighting games, they'll present to you really basic things like, here's how you block or here's how you air dash. And then when they get to kind of the more complicated things, they fumble the ball because they can explain to you what something is, but they don't do a good job of making you understand it or feeling it out. The mechanics in BlazBlue Cross-Tag Battle are so simple that when they explain it to you and you go through the very basic tutorial, you feel like you get it. And when you see it in a match, you feel like you know why you lose, because like just doing stuff in this game is not that hard. And what is hard is like, okay, I know how to do everything. I know how to do these combos, call in this assist, do my supers. I have all of these basic tools. Now I just need to figure out how to use them.
And when to use
them. And when to use them. And I think that that's something that everybody can understand and appreciate and grow with. It's not one of those things where it's like, wait, I don't even know where to begin. And so that's really nice and freeing.
Tell me about the Persona characters, Ben.
Yeah.
Tell me about them.
What do you want to know specifically?
Which ones are in it?
So Chie is in it, Yu is in it, Yosuke is in it, Yukiko is in it, Kanji is in it.
It's like the whole cast.
Well, there are a lot of characters that were in Persona 4 Arena. Teddy's not in the game yet.
Ryuji, though.
Naoto is in the story, but is not in... You can't play as Naoto yet, so that's really frustrating.
Does Ryuji have a chair?
Ryuji's Persona 5 character's not in it. It's just Persona 4.
Yeah.
Ryuji,
right? Not
Kanji.
Kanji, sorry.
Yeah, Kanji's in it.
Kanji's
chair.
Yeah. Getting my wires crossed.
Okay.
Does Kanji have the chair?
Yes, Kanji has the chair.
Nice.
He totally does.
Cool.
And you brought up the Persona characters and something, again, taking these mechanics from other games. So Persona 4 Arena, with the Persona characters, they all have their persona, and that's tied to an attack, and you can bring them out. And the personas give you extra range. There's special things that they can do. But in Persona 4 Arena, your personas kind of had their own life system, where they had these cards. And when you would hit a persona, it would knock out one of those cards. And when you lost all of those cards, you couldn't summon your persona anymore. They don't have that mechanic in BlazBlue Cross-Tag Battle in the same way. It's just when you hit a persona, you do damage to the character. And so they simplified it, but they still kind of kept that same sense of that thing in there. And they do that with a lot of different stuff in BlazBlue Cross-Tag Battle that I think is really, really smart and super well designed. But you were talking about the Persona characters, and I know that's like the thing you're most interested in.
Heck yeah.
And there are some really good moments. Kanji, for example, there's this guy, this huge giant guy from Undernight that he runs into in the story mode. And Kanji and him kind of get into this shouting match of manliness. And it's just great taking these awesome Persona characters and getting them to interact with other people. And
love that stuff.
Chie runs into this martial arts person from BlazBlue, and they're like, oh, we have a deep respect for each other because you love martial arts the way that I love martial arts. And those moments in the story mode are really, really cute. However, I think the story mode overall is really boring and kind of a slog to get through.
Dang it.
Here's why, and it's something that I kind of encountered in Dragon Ball FighterZ as well. So the story mode in BlazBlue Cross-Tag Battle feels like it takes the most obvious approach in a lot of ways, where it's like, hey, we've been pulled from other worlds. What's happening? We have to get out of here. Oh, you want to get out of here too? Let's fight. It's more complicated than that. I am being a little bit reductive, but in broad strokes, it's kind of like we're from different universes and we have to face off. That's not really my problem, though. It's split up between the games. So you have a BlazBlue episode, and that's like its own, 9-chapter, 10-chapter thing. I don't remember how many chapters there are, but it's like this 9-chapter thing that you have to play through. And then you got to do the Persona characters, and you got to play through their 9 chapters or whatever it is. And then Undernight, and then Ruby. And that's fine, but like when you do the BlazBlue characters, they're like, whoa, what is this place? What's happening? What's this keystone? How do I get out of here? That's fine once, but then when you go to the Persona characters and it's like, whoa, what's this place? What's going on? Oh, we got to fight? I got this keystone. I got to get out of here.
Oh my gosh.
And, there's still those tidbits, right?
Yeah.
There's still like these cool characters interacting and having good moments, but like just them kind of going through very similar motions.
The Persona characters should be like old hands at it and be like, "Yo, let's just get out of here." Like,
well, they
they're
definitely
always
do.
going into.
They definitely do. Are like, are we in the TV world? No, there are no shadows here. They definitely have references to that sort of thing. But yeah,
Ben, do you think this game is destined to be just what is it? Niche or niche? Have we decided on that?
I think that both.
I say,
But, yeah.
I've alternated between the two. I think more recently I've said niche.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
whatever.
This game is destined to be niche forever in America.
Wait, I need to hear Bloodworth's
Sorry.
opinion on
Yeah.
Niche, yeah.
niche. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Now I gotta change it.
100%.
Now I'm feeling self-conscious about my niche.
Yep.
All right.
Do you think that this game is destined to be niche in the West?
Oh, absolutely.
And why do you think that is? And does that upset you? Do you think that there could be a way for this game to like grow in popularity, or do you think it kind of just caters to a very specific audience and then that's kind of just going to be it?
I think Arc System Works has done a really good job of creating games that are really fun and interesting for the people that they're creating them with.
Yeah.
And they made this with expectations in check of like, we know who this is for, where the budget is going to be appropriate to that. I complain about the story, and when you're going through it, it's basically just still images and text box. There's not a lot of flash to it, but that makes sense, right? Like this is a game that the story mode is just kind of this fun thing, and the people who are going to play it, they're there to do ridiculous things with the mechanics that they put in this game and have a good time. And you can even see that with the way that they're doing DLC. There are a lot of characters that are not in this game that are coming down the line as DLC, and so they're essentially capitalizing on that audience and relying on that support. Like, this whole thing was built with a very small audience in mind.
Yeah.
Do I think that there's any chance that it could grow in popularity? Is that the question?
Yeah, or like, because we've seen these franchises recently, like Yakuza and even like Nier and stuff. These franchises that have come over here and have been around kind of for a while, but now are rising in popularity. Do you think that BlazBlue could be one of those franchises, or like what is the next step for this franchise?
I think a good strategy is to make a high quality thing and then keep making high quality things until the world understands.
Yeah, because it sounds like it's such high quality, you know?
I think Arc System Works is very smart, right? You don't get tagged to do something like Dragon Ball FighterZ if you don't have the reputation to back it up. I mean, there have been bad Dragon Ball games, but I think you get what I'm saying is like when people saw Dragon Ball FighterZ, they were excited because of how it looked and because it was Dragon Ball, but also because Arc System Works was making it.
Yeah.
That's a reputation. They've knocked out of the park with Guilty Gear XR. They've done a great job with BlazBlue. They did an outstanding job with Dragon Ball FighterZ. And you have this game, while I don't think it's going to be any sort of tipping point game, I think it is a really fun game that is really well made and smart in so many ways that people are having a good time with. Awesome. And so I hope that we kind of have this snowball effect that Arc System Works keeps growing. Maybe there are people who got into Arc System Works with Dragon Ball FighterZ and they're like, man, I like these guys. I'm going to check out BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. Cool. Or, if Arc System Works gets to work on another property down the line, they'll have that kind of domino effect.
Awesome.
And I had that sensation. I even said that in Slack where I was like, man, like Arc System, like I didn't expect that much out of BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. I didn't think it needed to be that much, and it exceeded my expectations. I can't believe how much fun I'm having for a game that I wasn't really anticipating. These are outstandingly solid fighting game makers, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, just mechanically, I have so much fun with what they're doing.
That is awesome, man.
Yeah.
It's good to hear.
I think part of me wonders if, fighting games have just become more niche, like you're saying, because we've lost the arcades. And so I think fighting games, you saw the rise of Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, and the reason those dominate is because of that era. And I think it was just very easy, for somebody to be walking by at a bowling alley and to see these guys, to see all this energy going down, and to get into it. And I think without that, like when you just like take a fighting game home by yourself in your room and you're trying to figure it all out on your own and you don't have the right people to bounce off of, like it doesn't have that same thing going on with it, and especially, as we're all growing older and we don't have those friends that are willing to just like come over and hang out and like try a fighting game out with us. Like it's just like it's a harder thing to get down, to get across.
Yeah.
I
just worry because like Dragon Ball is such a big property, right? So it's like, are they gonna focus on these huge properties rather than, I don't know how big BlazBlue is. I just know it's not like massive in the West, but my fear is that, games like this will disappear someday and it'll just be franchise city with, Dragon Ball and...
Yeah, I think what you're seeing, and to kind of bounce off Blood's point and your point, and Dragon Ball FighterZ and BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle are really good examples of this, where Blood, you're like, hey, we don't have the arcade anymore. We can't just go to this place and have people teach you stuff, or, we're at an age in our life where we're not going to go to a friend's house and play Street Fighter for hours and hours. And I think the way that people are trying to solve that problem, and you see it in Dragon Ball FighterZ and you see it in BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, is they're trying to trim down as much of the execution as they possibly can so they can give you something like a tutorial and you're like, wait, okay, I understand this. And so when you get into a match, like, things are making sense. Like, why you're getting hit, how they're doing those things. You don't really have that kind of mysterious black void where you're like, I don't even know where to start. Like,
right.
I just got so demolished that I don't even know. I think they're trying to trim that down as much as possible and make it easier to do things while having enough different mechanics that pull and tug at each other that it's still complex, that you still have to think about what you're doing. And I think it's hard to say that they've completely mastered that, right? But I think that that's a very smart way to go about it. Like, I feel like I could say to you, Blood, or Huber, like, hey, if you pick up BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, like, Resonance Blaze sounds really complicated, but it's not. It's not in practice. One of your characters is dead. You hit an R1, you're in Resonance Blaze. Like, it's not too hard to understand. And I feel confident that you guys could pick up that game and have a good time, as long as you were just a little bit willing to learn and maybe go through the tutorial. And I think that's a good step forward.
Amazing. Thank you for educating me, Ben.
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
I hope that was useful.
Educational.
Yeah, and like, I don't know, it's easy to sit here and be like, oh, what's the future of fighting games? What is this going to be? Is this going to be niche? Do they need to put more time into story modes? I feel like these are all conversations that we've had a lot, and those are valuable conversations. But the thing that I really want to drive home is that Scythe has a gun on it. Like, let us not forget that fighting games are just supposed to be fun. Yep. Like, it's okay if, you don't want to think about it on that level and you just want to have a good time. Like, I think BlazBlue has that for you too. Video games are supposed to be fun. Yeah. We live in an age where we watch people beat games with dance pads, and that is awesome. And I think the reason why I keep coming back to fighting games, despite continually being garbage at them, is because it is fun to have those moments where you feel yourself getting better. But I'm also there because the scythes have guns on them. Yeah. At the same time.
Heck yeah.
Which is cool.
I will always be slightly worried about the future of fighting games and real-time strategy games. I will always be. You know? Just like endangered species.
It's hard because I could talk about this for a long time, but you brought up real-time strategy and you brought up fighting games, and admittedly I'm a little bit more invested in fighting games than I am with real-time strategy, but I look at everything that just got announced for fighting games, right? You've got Soul Calibur 6. You had Dead or Alive 6 that was just announced today.
Yeah.
You've got BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle
That's
that
true.
just came out.
True. We got a lot.
You've got this weird game called Blade Strangers that features like indie game characters as fighters. It really kind of feels like there's a lot going on in the fighting game space in a really cool way. You've still got Street Fighter V going strong. You've got Cody coming out this month. You've
Ed
got
Boon's
Tekken.
going to announce something here.
Right, you got
day.
Mortal Kombat.
Right.
It's just, to me, it kind of feels like fighting games are at a really excellent point.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot going on in their series that we want to do well, that are doing well, or at least we're getting new entries in. Whereas with real-time strategy games, like looking ahead at E3, like what is there? What is there? What's going on in that genre?
Yeah.
And I might just be speaking from ignorance.
Ups and downs, though.
Yeah.
Total War seems to be dominating.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But when I think about real-time strategy, sometimes it's just like, it's awesome that there are more Total War games coming, but where is the other stuff? I mean, that's not completely fair. There's that PC game, There Are Billions, I think it is called.
Yeah, the zombie one, steampunk zombie one.
Yeah.
Looks cool.
That looks cool. Yeah, so admittedly, there are probably some people that are angry about us for either not knowing about certain games or not knowing enough about certain games, and that's fair.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I bring it up, though, with those genres. Like, that's part of it, is like there are hidden in the cracks. Like, you go on Steam, you could probably find a ton of real-time strategy games, but, like, you know, they're not at the forefront.
But I think the other thing that I'm learning, and I think we all need to be aware of, because it's only going to get this way more increasingly, is back in the day, like, learning about video games and all genre of video games came through the same voices. Whether it was fighting games or platformers or strategy games or whatever, you would go to the same places to get that information. And if you care about real-time strategy games or hardcore PC strategy games, you're going to very specific places, and there are a lot of them, and those places are doing slightly different things. If you care about fighting games a lot, or you want to care about fighting games a lot, you're going to different smaller places, but there are a bunch of those places, and they're all serving slightly different means. So there are very vibrant communities for so many of these things. You know, even though it's not on the front page of IGN, doesn't mean that it's totally obscure and not doing well, in my opinion.
Well said, Ben. Fantastic.
Let's keep the good times rolling.
Love it.
There's two games on here.
BlazBlue, man. I hit someone with a chair now.
Yeah, just be kanji.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Gun, scythe, chair shot. Like,
yeah, exactly. It just he just leaps at him too as he hits him with the chair. It's really fun. There are two games on here that both feel like a feel-good time. Let's hear from Michael Huber. Tell me about Red Dead Redemption.
What's up?
Red Dead Redemption, this is a game from Rockstar Games. Red Dead Redemption, going back to it because of the Xbox One backwards compatibility. So I'm not even playing this on the X, which, you know, I've brought up multiple times, has like 4K backwards compatibility.
I want to like give you an X just so you can experience it.
I want to see it, because even on Xbox One, it looks amazing still. I was just going back. It felt like the right time. I've only beaten it 2 times in my entire life, so it felt like a time to do it again. You know, third time it's been, because I beat it once right when it came out, and then like, you know, fooled around, you know, open world chaos, and then like 6 months later went.
Did you 100% it?
The first time, yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Always got 100%.
It's one of the few games that I've 100%ed, and it felt really good.
So just feeling the Red Dead 2 hype. So I went back and I wanted to kind of just, you know, get all of the lore ingested into my brain. Because that's what I'm all about. I want the maximum amount of lore, so when I go into Red Dead Redemption 2, I know like what to expect and what to see. This game still holds up. It holds up remarkably well, but there are problems with it. one thing I really hope, this is weird. I really hope Red Dead Redemption 2 has no minimap. It sounds like something so small and insignificant, but I think it is game-changing and transforming. No minimap. I think of the recent God of War not having a minimap, really, just the compass. You're more invested in the world and what's going on in front of you. I think of all of the shootouts in GTA and Red Dead is looking at your minimap, not even looking at the screen, really, just looking at the minimap and lining up to the red dots and then just auto-aim shoot, turn, auto-aim shoot.
What's even more aggravating for me, and Grand Theft Auto is a perfect example from that, is I get a little bit of anxiety because I'm not the best with directions, right? And so when I'm playing Grand Theft Auto, any of them, I feel like most of the time, as I am driving, I am just staring at that mini-map and ignoring everything else around me, and it sucks because some of that stuff looks really, really good.
Yeah. And I'm just watching that little meter on the...
Yep.
You know, I think there's a better way to do that. I really, really hope there's no mini-map. Because even in GTA 5, you know, those shootouts, just, you know, lining up to the red dots. And I just really want combat to be evolved. I think... You know, going from GTA 4 to Red Dead to GTA 5, I think it improves each time. So obviously, you know, I'm expecting it to improve in Red Dead 2, but I really want him to nail that. Because, like, so many, it's not just the mechanics, it's kind of the scenarios of, like, the gang's coming! You know, even GTA 5, like, cops are coming! And it's just, like, endless waves, you know? I want more inspired shootouts and more grounded shootouts. For Red Dead 2.
You made me think of Far Cry 5, which I've been trying to polish off after getting a good ways into it and then stopping, and then I've been coming back to it. And that's a lot of what I experienced in Far Cry 5, where it's like the shooting is fun and I'm enjoying it, I'm clearing these areas, but it's like when you send the armored guys and the helicopters over and over and over again, it loses a lot of the impact, and those things don't feel as threatening anymore.
Totally.
So...
Yeah, just did the part where I got to Mexico. So you're like crossing the river. I don't know if you remember the scene, but you're crossing the river on like the raft thing. And you're crossing the border into Mexico. And it's just like 15 minutes. 15 straight minutes of just like guys riding up on horses, hiding behind a rock, you know. Just wasn't as exciting as I remember. Nitpicks aside, that's it, really. The nitpicking.
Is it just that one scene so far?
No, just the combat in general is not as great as I, you know, remembered. And it was interesting going back to, you know, games, the masterpiece games, these 10 out of 10, you know, the best in the biz. Like Jones is going back and playing Last of Us, and he was talking about, you know, he's like, wow, I don't really remember like Ellie always like bumping into walls and just like running across in front of an enemy and the enemy not reacting. It's like, you know, as the years go by, the technology is a little more dated, so we kind of notice these things. So it's interesting seeing Red Dead with these fresh eyes, kind of nitpicking at these, like, you know.
Do you think that the reason why you're noticing these things so much and you're like, oh wow, like that's in there, is because the weight of the best moments have already kind of passed you by?
Yeah, the expectations too of like, yo, this is Red Dead, this is one of my favorite games of all time.
Right.
Like, you know, so I'm gonna notice little inconsistencies, like, you know, I walk into a building to trigger an event, but then the cutscene will start and he'll be outside walking into the building, like just little story presentation inconsistencies like that I know are going to be fixed and better in Red Dead 2. I'm so excited.
It's funny how you remember games, because when I think about Red Dead Redemption, I think about some of the crazy story moments that happened, but also how much I loved being in that world and how the way that they, even just like running by somebody and getting tricked into thinking that I needed to help this lady, just those moments, or finding the treasure, or how different the world was as you explored it, and some of the quality of some of those quests. Getting flowers is one that
just did that one.
Yeah, very good. What I don't remember at all, honestly, is how the shooting felt, or like how broken the dead eye, the dead aim was.
So straight up, just like shooting a dude with a revolver feels great.
Okay.
I always go for the belly shot, you know? Shoot him in the belly. It just feels good. It's got the kick. Like, the revolvers have the kick. One of my favorite guns of all time, I never talk about it because it's an Old West gun, is the Winchester rifle. One of my favorite movies of all time with Jimmy Stewart is Winchester 73. Give it a watch. And it's like the gun that ruled the West because it could hold like 10 bullets, lever action, like rate of fire, distance. It was like the weapon. So the Winchester feels great. The shotgun feels great. It's just the combat scenarios, which I'm always big on, you know. That's why I love Uncharted 4 so much, is because of the actual encounters. Who are you fighting and where are they coming from and how are they attacking you?
Right.
Is really big for me. And it's dated a little bit in Red Dead. It's enemies either hunkered down or just an endless wave coming at you.
Sure.
But granted, shooting feels good. It's just the movement. You know, even GTA 5, like, walking just feels kind of
where like you
heavy.
You go in a direction and it's not like your character just does it. It's kind of like there's this shift in the shuffle.
Yeah.
And
even Witcher 3, like, you know, people criticize the way Geralt moves. Like, it's hold it accountable. Anyway, aside from those ridiculous nitpicks, everything about Red Dead Redemption, everything else holds up.
Because you're saying it's a good game.
It's so good. John Marston, the stories, like the quests themselves, you know, the I forget his name, but the tonic seller who, you know, you're getting it, you're going on all these missions with him. And he's just like, oh, come on, John, like, just come. We'll worry about that later. Like, we gotta go. Just the voice acting, the writing. Yeah.
The voice acting is impeccable.
All of that stuff will never age in my mind, you know? It's just like the act of moving and stuff, you know? It's the product of the time. It's the mechanics and the technology, I mean.
I probably do this too much, but when something, like, reaches a certain level of quality for me, I am always scared to go back to it. And it's rare, but it happens sometimes with movies, music, and games, where it'll be like, man, this was such a good period of my life, and it was because of this thing. And I remember, like, the summer I was playing Red Dead Redemption, and just having nothing to do and playing it for 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, like, don't talk to me, don't look at me, leave me alone. This is how much I love it. And anytime I think about booting Red Dead Redemption 2 up, it's like I don't want. It's like I'm worried about, like, sullying that thing for me.
I do it with movies all the time. Like Stanley Kubrick films, I cherish and I kind of keep them at an arm's length. It's like I don't want to abuse this. I don't want to watch them too much. And that's why I always come back and say Resident Evil 2 is my favorite game of all time.
Right.
Because it stood the test of time and I can play it endlessly.
Right. And it's because of, you mentioned, like, Red Dead Redemption has so many different components, whereas, like, sometimes I'll think, like, I'll just boot up Bayonetta for, like, 20 minutes. Because it's like, I just want to, you know, do witch time. That's it. That's all I want to do, just like once. Yes. And then I'm good. Whereas Red Dead Redemption is a little bit of a different thing for me.
Totally, because some things hold up better than other things in the game, you know. Story obviously does, but the movement is a little, and it's not like it's not bad, it's just not like, it's not perfect. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You have this memory of Red Dead Redemption being an absolutely flawlessly perfect video game, but you go back, you know, 6 years later, and it's like, okay, well, the movement is a little troublesome, but, you know, but it doesn't take away from the game whatsoever.
I feel like this revisitation has somehow made you more excited.
Yes.
Because
of the improvements coming.
Right. Yes. That's the thing.
Yes.
It's not like you're sitting here and it's like, it's not as great as I remember. It's like, it's not as great as I remember, and they're going to crush you in Red Dead Redemption 2. Let's go.
Exactly. Because even, like, I talk to Jones all the time about, like, the storytelling from Red Dead Redemption to GTA 5.
Yeah.
And just the improvements there with, like, you know, the dialogue on the way to missions, like them recording multiple lines of dialogue. You know, if you fail the mission and go back, you'll have a new conversation, and just little things like that, and just the way you interact with strangers, and I'm just so excited. That's it. And some really crazy Some really like a really crazy side quest that is clearly going to be done in Red Dead 2.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of what you're referencing.
The Man in Black.
Yes, that's
The Man in Black, dude. That story it's happening in Red Dead 2. It's happening.
the way it's presented at 1 is so good.
Because we've already seen, like, in the trailer, you see the thing that he talks about. You see it. He tells you a story about an event. And in the trailer for Red Dead 2, you see the thing from the event. So I'm just... Ooh.
Westerns and Men in Black. Westworld, Red
Right?
Dead Redemption.
Yep. Always, dude. Yul Brenner. Sorry, I love Westerns.
Yeah, it's just side note. I don't think you're caught up on Westworld yet.
I'm not on season 2, no.
And there's just some very key things that I want your opinion on in Westworld.
Yeah, they're
season
kicking
2.
off the E3 Coliseum. Westworld.
Really?
With Keeley, and it's talking about it. The title of the panel is Revenge of the NPC.
Okay.
I was like, that sounds great.
Yeah. There's some stuff in season 2 that I think you would really like. There's some stuff in season 2 I think you would really not like, but the moments that do hit, I think would hit for you especially hard.
Man, and just like the mini games too. Before we end it, just like playing poker. I sat down because I love Texas Hold'em poker. And I haven't played in a while, and I sat down. I was like, dude, I'm just gonna play poker right now, like straight up. I sat there for like 90 minutes playing poker in Red Dead.
What made those gambling minigames for me is just the saltiness of everyone else around you. Oh, it's so good. Just like they really do an excellent job of conveying how you have like these drunken, slovenly bastards that you're playing with,
they're
and how much
scum.
fun. Yes, they're
Some of those
scum.
guys are scum.
Yes.
There's like the racist guy, scumbag, broke him, dude.
And when you beat them,
Aces.
it feels good.
And even like Five Finger Fillet is way
I
harder.
forgot that was in there.
It is harder than I remember. It is so hard. Oh my gosh.
The
world is
have you
just
ever played
alive.
Full Throttle? The LucasArts adventure
The
game?
adventure game? No.
Yeah. They've got
Five Finger Fillet?
Yes, you would love that game. Blood, our love of Red Dead Redemption is perhaps overly chronicled. I don't know your take on it, and really, honestly, I'm going to extend. I don't know how Blood feels about Rockstar in general.
Yeah.
I mean, Red Dead is really the only one.
What about Midnight Club?
Oh, Midnight Club. Yeah, I played Midnight Club LA. I did that review. I really liked that game. It was like one of the few racing games at the time that like dared to put crowds of people in. You know, like so many like just completely empty worlds, and it's like, oh, look, there's people here. They like magically like leap out of the way of the car at the last second all the time, but they're there. But yeah, so I've never been into GTA stuff. Like I'm not into Mafia either. Like those kinds of like, I like those kind of like organized crime stories have never been my thing. So Red Dead was really the only one I got into, and like I sunk a summer into that for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, really do see a lot of the same things that everyone else like. Of course, like the game even now, like it looks amazing. It's crazy how good that game looks. And I think in some ways like that's one of the criticism on too is like as good as Red Dead looked, 2 probably should look better than it looks right now. You know, it's like it's kind of funny. We haven't seen gameplay yet, but I just remember those first trailers of Red Dead was just like jaw dropping.
I hope the draw distance in Red Dead 2 is miles, because so many open world games. I'm thinking of Far Cry 5.
Yeah.
Fog. You know, your view range is not very far. Like they fog it up around you.
I think of Turok.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. I agree with your concerns about the visual problems potentially in Red Dead 2, but I also think that I can't be too hard on it until I can soak it all in.
Sure.
Because I think, especially with that type
And I
of
don't even know that
looks
it's
great.
problems. It's just like it just doesn't have that same
wow
effect
factor. Yeah,
that,
I agree.
That the
That
first one
shot
did.
though, when it like pans into the theater and the guy's like flaming, and then there's like the lantern, like some of the lighting stuff they're doing, and the stars when they're like camping outside. I think visually it looks great.
You're in.
Oh, I'm so everyone in the comments are gonna be like, "Who hates Red Dead?" Because the
No.
combat.
No.
Get that combat better though. Red Dead, like Rockstar in general, man, like their combat's good, really good, but I still think it could be better. I want more.
I do think they have improved over time.
Yes,
and so,
every
hey,
game has
let's
improved.
be hopeful.
Exactly.
Yeah. I do have some news for you, though. You did trigger the frame trap, Hubert.
Uh-oh.
But the good news is we've been kind of on a positive streak, and I think it's because of E3, where you've said something that have kind of tickled the demons a little bit. And they have a game that they like to play in their frame trap dimension, which is very similar to Hell. And they like to play Five Finger Fillet with each other. And so just the mere reference of Five Finger Fillet did trigger the demons and caught in a frame trap. And in fact, they're playing right now as we do this game. If none of that made sense to you, it's just this little fun lore thing that we do to take a break in the show, take a break from what we've been playing, talk about some sponsors, and play a fun little game. Today's game has to do with E3, of course. I have picked some embarrassing moments that have happened throughout E3.
Oh boy.
And I'm going to quiz you on how well you remember them.
Okay.
Before we get into that, let's talk about some sponsors. Huber, just keep in mind during this sponsorship reading, I'm going to throw it to you at one point.
Excellent.
So be ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. Our first sponsor is Greg, TheDarkKnight Kettering. Thank you, Greg.
Nice.
Next is Dale's son. Dale just wanted to support the Allies, but since he has a plug, he's a game developer with the month of May off. He might still be streaming in June, just FYI. So he's going to be streaming a bunch. Stop by if you're bored. Twitch.tv/StuffOnARock. Next, we've got BeatenDownBrian. Thank you, Brian. Next, we have Jesse Jesterfer Vitelli. Jesterfer is how you can see him on Twitch, and his Twitter handle is @JesseVitelli. Next, we have a game. This is a new sponsor for Frame Trap. This is called Crystal Hunters from Zotague. Crystal Hunters is a puzzle game inspired by classics like The Adventures of Lolo and Chip's Challenge. Love Chip's Challenge. Take on 45 levels of mind-bending puzzles as you go on a journey to collect the crystals scattered around the land. Play as Thomas or Amelia, guided by Grandpa Buckley. And go get those crystals.
Buckley.
Grandpa Buckley.
Disclaimer for Huber and Huber types. There are laser puzzles. I love laser puzzles. Next up, we have a very special category of sponsors, and that is the mega sponsors. First one is Richard Hogue from Hogue Law. And I want you, Huber, to read the Hogue Law blurb. I want to get your take on it. We've gotten different takes. We got one from Ian last episode.
Hogue Law, business law firm. Whether you're starting a business at level 1, stuck fighting the dreaded fundraising boss, or finally cashing out with a well-earned high score, you need a good business lawyer at your side. And now that good business lawyer has a YouTube channel. One with at least one video, which Ian Hink has called really well written, and Kyle Bossman has called easily shareable. Check it out at youtube.com/Hogue Law. HOEG Law. youtube.com/HOEG Law. Blue. What is Blue?
Blue is our second mega sponsor.
Oh, Blue. Sorry, I ruined that. I'm
all
sorry.
right.
I'm
No,
sorry,
you didn't
Blue.
ruin it. You didn't ruin it. It was great. Thank you to Hogue Law. Thank you to Blue for being our mega sponsors. You guys ready to play a game? Okay, this is going to be multiple choice. I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to give you 3 options, A, B, and C. Please wait until all 3 options have been read. Then whisper HOTTAKE if you would like to answer. If you get the question wrong, I'll throw it to the other panelists. We're ready to play.
Ready.
Yeah.
All right, first question. Jamie Kennedy awkwardly hosted which press conference in 2007? Is that A, Ubisoft, B, Konami, or C, Activision?
HOTTAKE.
Blood is chomping like a lion. What is it?
Activision.
Yeah, that is correct. Blood's on the board. 1 point to none.
Legendary.
I just had to wait for you to stop talking.
Oh, I know.
I knew the
I know.
answer.
Gosh.
I could tell because you did that blood smirk immediately. I thought it said Jamie Kennedy anymore.
Honestly, don't watch it. So uncomfortable.
It is very uncomfortable.
So uncomfortable.
All right, number 2. Tak Fuji's infamous Extreme happened while he was promoting what game? Is it?
Oh, sorry. I thought I jumped the gun. That's a Huber.
That's a Huber. I'm going to give this one to Huber. I'm going to finish saying the answers. Is it A, Never Dead, B, 99 Nights 2, or C, Automedius Excellent?
B. HOTTAKE B.
99 Nights 2?
Yeah.
Correct! Huber's on the board. Blood's eagerness bit him there. Number 3. I like you guys know this confidently too, which I like. You know your E3 history. What is the performance name of the drummer from the E3 2008 Wii Music presentation? Is it A, DJ Ravi Drums? Is it B, DJ Tempo Night? Or C, DJ Firestorm?
HOTTAKE.
Bloodworth.
A.
It is A. It is DJ Ravi Drums.
You can't match Bloodworth's E3 trivia.
Blood is not
Dude
breaking a
has been
sweat.
to all of them.
Not breaking a sweat. All right, number 4. What game does the meme giant enemy crab come from? Is it A, Heavenly Sword, B, Genji, Days of the Blade, or C, Trinity, Souls of the Zillow? Huber on top of it.
B.
B, Genji, Days of Blade.
Yes.
Correct!
Yes. Yep.
We got a match!
I was like, wait, which one was Genji? Was it A, B, or C? I forgot. Okay, it was B. All right.
Blood, did you know that one as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Giving it to Huber there. It comes down to the last question, okay? What is the name of the laser tag, not video game, just the laser tag game that Ubisoft promoted in 2010? Is it A, Laser Wars, B, Battletag, or C, Clash Assault?
Okay.
Huber.
B.
Battletag!
Yeah.
Yes!
Huber clutches it out! He does it!
Huber's
He
a
brings
quicker
us home. He has that quick HOTTAKE. That was a good competition. All of you knew every answer, it seemed like. Did you not know the DJ Ravi Drums?
I had no idea.
Okay.
Had no clue.
But, yeah, fiercely fought, both competitors. Huber, because you won, it's been... We have a lot of ties in this, but you won definitively, which means just you get to break us out of the frame trap realm using a phrase, an action, something that you would like to do to get us out of this game. Keep in mind, it is E3, so the expectation is going to be even higher for what you do.
I want a group hug.
He nails it.
Group hug. Did that appease the demons?
I do not know if it appeased the demons, but it appeased the hell out of me.
It's E3.
Like,
Love and respect. E3.
I'm not crying. I'm not even misty-eyed, but I feel I feel it. You know, I feel a little bit of.
Good.
I feel a little bit of emotion. Yeah,
Love you.
That was nice. I love you too. Wow, this got really wholesome. I guess let's keep the wholesome train rolling with Beetle Adventure Racing.
Nice. I'm so glad this is the Blood Pact.
Dude.
How cool is it that Blood is streaming Beetle Adventure
know.
Racing?
Yeah. I gotta say, yeah. So Blood Pact, if you're not familiar, it's one of the tiers on Patreon. Where people give a lot of money. Like it's a $60 a month tier.
Yeah.
And it stays pretty much the same. Like once in a while, somebody will come in for a couple of months and then back out, but it's usually the same group of people. And what's funny is, I don't think they even care that much about being in the Blood Pact. Like
They just want to hang out.
it's like that's just the right number for them. So there they go.
Can I, as an ally, can I be in the Blood Pact?
I mean,
$60,
yeah,
Ben.
you could.
Pay up.
I have to fork over. I'm gonna fork over the $60.
You have to hand $60 directly to
In cash
In
to
cash.
No, it has to be on
Yeah.
Patreon. That's how it works. But
Three $20 bills unmarked.
Okay.
but they are like, we're really well in sync with like actually picking the games each month.
Oh.
Like it's just always like, even games that I've never played or I'm not really sure about, it's like come out of that and it's like, yeah, that was great. That was pretty awesome. And so Beetle Adventure Racing was the pick for this last month for May, and is one of those games is like, I'd always heard about it.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the money for it when it came out.
That's the exact same situation for me. I remember
Wasn't in a situation where I could rent it at the time
Right.
for whatever reason.
Nintendo Power really hyped it up and made it look so awesome, and I just, for some reason, like didn't have the money, couldn't access it. And it always seemed so cool.
It's pretty funny timing. The Obsidian had me on the Extra Life charity stream, and that was one of the games we played. And and they were hyping it up. I'm like, never even heard of this. Is this game good? And they're like, oh yeah. And we like did battle mode for like
nice.
an hour and a
I didn't get
half.
to do that. Yeah.
Oh, it was so fun.
Why does Beetle Adventure Racing hold up?
I don't know. It's
It
so
just
good.
really it controls well for one. Like I was actually like pretty surprised because it's very arcadey. There's a lot of jumping and stuff, but at the same time, like it's got a good sense of weight and physics in there as well. But it really comes down to the course design. Like there's not a super huge number of courses, but every one of them is really, really long, and there are just crazy secrets and shortcuts all over the place. Like I hit this ramp and went off a bridge, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm dead. And I'm like, but my car kept going. And I'm like, what is happening right now? And I hit the ground, and I'm in a tunnel, and I keep going, and there's a huge crashed UFO
Whoa!
inside of an ice cave because I took a jump wrong. You know, it's like
I gotta say, there was a period of time where like putting aliens or UFOs as little secrets or Easter eggs in your game was like a super cool thing.
Yeah.
Specifically in the PS1 and 64 era. We need to get back to that.
Yeah.
We
Shadows
need to get
Die
back to
twice.
But
Better
it's like,
have a
it's
secret
not just-
alien.
It's not just that. It's like
Bloodborne kind of did.
stuff constantly. Like there's another part in that same level where you like, the cliche secret behind a waterfall, but the waterfall's frozen, and you smash through it to go
Rad.
through a side route there.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
And then there's this other one. It's called like Inferno Island or whatever. And it's crazy how much stuff there is in there because like you start off on a beach, and if you go the normal way, like you hear all these crickets and stuff, and then like you see these big fences, and then all of a sudden like a T-Rex just like chomps down in front of you on the track. I'm like, what is happening? But if you go the secret route, then there's like all these tiki torches and stuff, and there's like a witch doctor's hut, and you smash through that, jumping over this like pit of quicksand or whatever. And then you go through this little like kind of like Mediterranean / Italian kind of town, and you like take shortcuts down side alleys, and you go a little further, and there's like a jump on the docks this way, and then you go a little bit further, and then you go through the heart of this volcano, and you gotta kind of slow down and like take some of these side routes really slowly.
And no framiness throughout all of this insanity.
Not bad, no, like
Okay.
nothing that was like, ugh, like it just played well.
Does it use the expansion pack?
That I don't know. I mean, it's installed on my system, but I don't know that it uses it either way.
Because there are a lot of times I revisit N64 games and I'm like, wow, this frame rate is trash.
Yeah.
And I love this
Oh,
game,
yeah.
but this frame rate is trash.
Yeah,
Yeah.
GoldenEye dips down a bit, especially 4 players.
I think of
The other thing that was just cool about doing it and playing it for the first time is just I've never, because so many of like the classic N64 games are on stuff like Virtual Console.
Yeah.
Like I hadn't had to stream a real N64 from home before. You know, we've done it here, but it was always like Damiani set everything up.
I don't think I have either.
And so it's like, okay, it's like I got the retro capture unit from here, and then it's like, oh, I can get the signal into XSplit to stream, but I can't actually see it because neither of the monitors that I use support 480p. And so I was like, okay, so I had to like order some adapters, and so I split the signal. So I had the N64 cables going out. One way they're going into my PC, the other way they're going straight into my CRT SD TV that I haven't turned on for a while. Mm-hmm. And so
awesome.
so that was great to like actually like play the N64
How old's
on
your-
a CRT.
How old's your CRT?
I want to say I probably bought it in like 2004, 2005-ish.
Good investment.
I need to
somewhere
buy a
around there.
CRT.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, it was right before HD was a thing. I remember I actually bought it a little bit later because the first time I like had to go out and buy, like I was thinking I wanted to just get a new TV because I wanted to have component cables. That was the thing then. It was the component cables
Yeah.
for GameCube. I went out and I got a TV, and it was just like what we call now like crushing the blacks, basically. And so I was like going around Metroid Prime and like places that I knew I should be able to see detail in this tunnel, and like I could see nothing. I'm like, screw this TV. So I took it back, and when I took it back, like instead of getting a TV, I was like, I'm getting surround sound instead. You know, so that's my first surround sound system. So that was like, I went like another year or two before getting this TV, and like I was just forced into it because my old one that I had taken from home from Florida, it just finally just went kaput. I'm like, okay, I gotta get one. But it's nice. It does component. It has like a flat screen. It had
And you got to figure it out now. You know.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying like when I originally got the TV.
Right.
But yeah, with this, it was great going back and using it again because, I just don't get that opportunity to turn it on that often.
It doesn't sound like it's even quite this intense, but sometimes setting up 3DS capture is a pain.
Yeah.
And it always sucks.
That's probably the worst.
When you set it up and you're like, well, I'm not having a great time, but I love that the end of this story is I crashed through that frozen waterfall, found that UFO. It sounds like it was worth the effort.
That was funny was like with the way my room is set up, like I don't have like a stand or something for my camera. It's usually just on top of my monitor.
Yeah.
So I had to have like my monitor sort of in front of me just to put the camera on and just like squeeze it to the side as much as possible. And then I had like the cable going from the camera to the PC like right in front of me between me and the TV. So it's just kind of.
Do you have a lot of room in your room?
No, I do not.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't sound like it. Who made Beetle Adventure Racing?
I think the developer is Australian. I could be wrong.
I remember looking at
it. It was Electronic Arts that published it, though.
Oh.
Yeah.
So if EA wants to win back some favor amongst people,
no, it might not be. It was Argonaut. Is it Argonaut that made? I don't know.
Huber's on it.
I'm all
I'm
over.
on it. I'm on
He's
it.
got it.
The developer is Paradigm.
Paradigm.
I
got those two mixed up because
What's the Paradigm make?
Paradigm also made.
Paradigm did Pilot Wings,
Pilot Wings.
their first game.
Yeah.
What?
Pilot Wing and Beetle Adventure Racing.
Was it Pilot Wings or Pilot Wings 64?
64. Yeah,
Okay.
64. For clarification. Spy Hunter.
Okay.
The PS2 Spy Hunter?
Yep, PS2.
Okay.
And a lot of canceled games. Their last game was 2007, Stuntman Ignition. That was
Interesting.
it.
Interesting.
Yep.
It sounds like the world could use more Beetle Adventure Racing. I think was the...
Yes,
The ultimate
that was
point.
very,
Now-
that
now
was
it
very
would
much
be
the
like-
conclusion. It's like where is this
Right.
kind of game right now?
Now it would be like Prius Adventure Racing or something. Like
I want to be
Tesla.
Beetles, man.
Me too.
Beetle Adventure Racing
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
What's funny too is they had like this really like Italian Job vibe, but it was years before that Italian Job remake came out. So it was just funny just like how well that matched up because you know they had all the minis and
Yeah.
stuff in that movie.
It's cool.
Let's talk about a game that I still have not played yet. I've been going off in other directions, but you have both finished and have a lot of opinions on, and that game is Detroit.
Oh yeah,
Become
Yeah.
Human.
we're going to get even deeper into this later after E3. We're going to do spoiler mode.
Are you a human yet? Did this game make you a human?
No spoilers. This game is amazing.
I'm saying for you, Michael Huber.
Yeah.
Okay.
This game made me feel. This game made me feel things.
But in an effort to make you feel things, did it beat you over the head with them? Is there subtlety in Detroit Become Human?
Lack of subtlety in some areas.
Yeah,
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about because very clearly they want to make you feel. How effective are they in going about that? What are they talking about?
It's basically like civil rights, but for androids.
yeah.
And that is kind of the main focus.
Sure.
And Marcus is kind of leading that. There's three characters you play as. Connor, the android detective. Marcus, the android resistance leader. And Kara, the android taking care of the child.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and like to me, it's weird because the story kind of doesn't work on one level, but does work on another. Because I think anything where Detroit is about like getting a message across about civil rights or AI or any of those kinds of themes, it just kind of fell flat or is like, I see what you did there kind of moments. But so I kind of almost like compartmentalize that and like, whatever, kind of feeling towards that stuff. Whereas just sort of taking that as for granted, like, okay, this is what's happening. But I was more invested in each of these characters and how they navigate through this. And I think they do it. Some do it more successfully than others. Like for instance, like Marcus, the Resistance leader.
Marcus was the least interesting story.
Yeah,
for me,
like to me, it was some of his stuff. Like it just didn't add up, and we'll get into that for the moment specifics. But and I think too, like this whole situation kind of plays out at like way too accelerated as a pace. It's almost like, okay, this started happening, and now flip the switch, like. Androids are just people now. It's like, wait, they went from being machines to people like a couple days. It feels like,
I remember, it wasn't all that long ago that I played through Beyond. I think it was this year. And what you were saying kind of lines up with some of my experiences Beyond, where you have things that feel like they happen way too fast. Even the ending, which I don't want to ruin, but the ending, there were moments where I'm like, really? Like, we're just going to go boom, boom, boom with all of that stuff. And so that concerns me a little bit because there's a problem that I have with Beyond. And that kind of leads into my next question. So Telltale games, I think, can be a little bit frustrating for me. Not that they're not good or they don't have value left, but there's a lot of times that I'm playing them and I'm like, man, I feel like I've done this before. The way that this looks, the way that you're presenting me these decisions, the way that I'm interacting with this world and the characters, like there's just kind of this sameness that's carrying over. Do you feel that in Detroit? Is there kind of like this Quantic Dream sameness, or is there enough that is unique in Detroit that separates it?
I feel like it is the culmination of their work, honestly.
What does that mean?
How seamless everything is, the way all of the choices ripple, how natural it feels to engage in a conversation and pick dialogue options. It's their most polished game, in my mind, by far. And this is coming from someone who I love Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls.
Yeah.
Because I just love that controlling a movie, being reductive about it. It's like, hey, you're controlling a movie. And it's the most likable characters. Connor, oh my goodness. The Connor storyline alone is the reason to play this game. Yeah. Do not skip just for Connor. He's teamed up with Clancy Brown, really great character actor. And Clancy Brown is a human who detests androids. A story that has been done numerous times.
Right.
But it's just so well presented, and visually the game looks so good. Like one of the best looking video games I've ever seen in my life. They don't have to do as much because it's not open world. So that kind of opened my eyes up too to like putting your resources into a smaller, area versus like spread out over this huge open world. But yeah, I really liked Connor's storyline and Kara's. You're taking care of the child, and I say I feel things because the game made me so emotional towards the child that I would have done whatever it took to protect her. And for a game to make me actually feel that way, I think is a big success. Like, I was in the mindset of whatever I need to do, I will save her and protect her. That like motherly instinct, is intense.
Would you be willing to do a Don't Skip Connor? Just specifically, that's the title we run with.
Honestly, yes. Yeah. Yes.
I think what I'm most interested about is you mentioned seamlessness. Mm-hmm. I think that's a really interesting word choice to use when you're talking about these different characters that you play as. Mm-hmm. What makes it seamless? How do they transition? How often are you bouncing between those storylines? And you said that the decision-making was better. It was more interesting.
Yeah.
What, beyond having a list of options and picking one, what makes it more interesting? How is it different?
You want to take that one, Blood?
Yeah, I think that they just... I think it's about them feeling more natural and more like they make sense most of the time,
So the decisions themselves make more sense. Like it doesn't feel. What do you mean by that? Like when you give me a decision, what makes it a good decision as opposed to past quantum?
Because there's like multiple things that affect multiple things, you know. So it's like, because I said this, that's going to now lead to this. But if I say this can lead to that. It's just like this constant...
So you're saying this network of paths is just a lot more intricate.
Yeah. And the way you like move around too. It's like, yo, if I'm just walking down this way instead of that way, that's going to lead to some other thing, you know?
Yeah, like one decision that is fairly early on, you're trying to find shelter with Kara.
Best. Oh my god. I was gonna bring that up.
So
unbelievably amazing.
So basically, you see three options, and one is you can sleep in a car, which is gonna get the job done, but like it's gonna be scary, potentially dangerous. It's gonna be cold.
Sure.
It's gonna be uncomfortable. Possibly easier to get discovered. Who knows? Then there is like an abandoned house, and so to get into the house, you've got to figure out like how to break through the fence, where to break through the fence. Is anybody already there? And it's run down. It's still going to be dark and cold. Who knows what you're going to have to deal with inside? And then the other option is there's a motel. And so yeah, stay in a motel, but you need money.
Right. There was even like a parking lot too.
Where you're gonna get money, and so like there's a convenience store. It's like, do you ask for money? Do you hold up the convenience store? Do you steal food from the convenience store?
Did you hold up the convenience store, Heber?
No, but I did shoplift.
Okay.
Sorry, convenience store person.
So it's like all of these different things.
But I asked for help first, dude. I was like, so it's raining. I'm with a child, like, just help me out here. What the heck? So I was like, I'm just shoplifting. But it was really intense too, because like you go to the back of the store and the guy kind of like looks and like doesn't, and I was like, grab it, and then I just like immediately walked out. I was just like, go. I was like, please don't say anything.
Yeah.
What did Bloodworth do?
I went to the abandoned house.
Okay.
So, but it makes me really curious because I could sort of maybe see like how the car would play out, but in my mind, like holding up the convenience store and like staying at the motel, I'm like that's got to be like
risky.
Totally crazy different. Like I don't know exactly how that would work out, And one of the things that they kind of monitor throughout is just like the public opinion versus androids and like what they think about what you're doing. Yeah. And so it's like, are you going to be forceful and force what you want on people, or are you going to try to make people sympathetic to who you are? And that plays out through all three of their storylines. Really,
like there's so much subtlety in that sense of the choices you make. Like, let's just say I did some bad things. I did some bad things.
Let's just say, yeah.
But somehow I think we're talking about it on spoiler mode. I was really, really happy with my ending.
Yeah.
I usually get terrible endings because I'm way too trusting and way too nice. And like I was playing with Beth, and she really loved the game too. She like loves Detroit, and she's always just like, "You're way too nice in these games. Like you're such a pushover." And I was like, "Okay,
so sweet."
Yeah, I was like, "All right, I'll take that advice." And like I said, dude, when I was Kara as the mother, like me and her, dude, I'm like, anyone else, get out of my way. Like, get out of my way.
It sounds like they do a good job of making multiple choices seem enticing, or at the very least very logical.
Yeah.
The way that you're describing it in this one instance. But what I want to know, and what always upsets me, is did either of you actually get a chance to see how divergent those paths really are? I mean,
that's one thing that's actually pretty cool about the game.
Yeah.
Is so you play each chapter about 20 to 30 minutes. And so you play one character and then you move on to another character after that. At the end of every chapter, they actually show you a flowchart.
Oh.
So you actually see like all the different points that you could have made different choices. And so
And
when
you compare it to the world too. It's the percentage of
it
like
does
the
that
what
kind of telltale
everyone
thing.
did.
Yeah, but what was kind of frustrating about the way that Telltale does it is it's like, oh, okay, 62% of people did this, but I don't really get a sense of what that was like. It sounds here
Well,
you
here
get a
you just
better
see how many
sense of
people
it.
picked yours because everything else is grayed out.
Okay.
So you don't see what those other options actually are when you're looking at the flowchart. The only thing is like when you replay, then the things that you previously unlocked, they'll be in white and your current path will be blue.
So is there a way where it's like, okay, it's cool that I went this way and there were these other options, but whatever. However, this decision, I really actually do want to go back and see what I can change. Is there a way to kind of bounce around to different points?
Can I spoil something amazing? I
You
really
can. Do you think it's a smart decision?
Me too, but
I want to talk about this one part. Maybe we'll save it for spoiler mode.
Yeah.
Tease. But there are chapters. There's a chapter section in the main menu.
yeah,
I see.
And you can
yeah, you
Go
can
back
go back
and-
to any
Pick
Yeah,
chapter
that's basically what I'm asking.
you can go back at any time and pick up from
and,
there.
and figure out where the branch that you want. There are even checkpoints within chapters. So like,
Okay.
yeah, if you
And you
want
can
to
skip
find
specifically to that checkpoint.
yeah,
Cool.
But what's cool and kind of crazy is like when you start getting towards those last couple of chapters, like you start flipping through the different flowcharts and be like huge chunks, like basically entire scenarios. So like, what led to this? Like, what choice should I have made to have gotten to whatever that huge giant section of the flowchart is? It's kind of crazy, and you see it like branching off to a whole bunch of different areas. Like, okay, so it really does. I like that is the game's biggest strength is it does feel like it has a lot of options and that they are meaningful. It's not just here's all the different ways you could have died.
So immersive because of that freedom. Like that's such a buzzword, but it really is like you are in these characters' shoes so deeply.
Yeah.
And you always feel in control in terms of like how you want to handle each situation.
I don't need you to specify anything in any detail at all, but what I need to know and what always frustrates me about Quantic Dream games because it's happened to me with Indigo Prophecy, it has happened to me with Heavy Rain, and it's happened to me with Beyond. In all of those instances, the narrative just fell apart at the end.
Jumps the shark.
It does. Either it jumps the shark or it feels rushed and sloppy in a way that is really frustrating. Does it come together a little bit more cleanly in Detroit?
I feel like that's one of the things that they improved is that it did not do that for me, at least not with the story arcs that I went through.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was very happy with my ending.
Yeah.
That is
yeah.
good.
It is, and it's, and I think one of the other things we really didn't come across is like sometimes like the tension in making those choices. Like, especially towards the end, like, it'll really, like, push the screws to you. And I was like, do you really want to go down this path? Do
so
you really
intense.
want to do this?
Is it doing that with
this
time
the right
or just the
thing to
nature of
do?
the choice?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, it's high stakes. Like, if I want to describe Detroit Become Human, it is high stakes. You know, and I think that's such a big thing in video games is like, this is maybe the third or fourth time now we've brought up Souls, but even Souls, like,
I don't know how this comes back to Souls
it's
at all.
so hard and like such a threatening game, but like, you die, you just go back to the bonfire and try again. You know, no big deal.
Yeah, they really encourage you to not
This is
replay
like-
anything until you've gone through the whole thing
Like,
first.
yeah, your decisions in this, and like it auto saves. Obviously, you have one save file. Like, it is so high stakes at all times. It's just you feel the pressure.
You've mentioned some characters a character that you're really attached to and you love, and one character that you don't really care for as much, and that sounds kind of frustrating to me because I always hate bouncing between perspectives, and it's like I'm not really feeling this character. That's actually something in Yakuza 4 was like I like all of them, and I think they all have worthwhile stories. Do you feel like? Were there ever moments where you're spending time with that character that you didn't like, and you're like, I just can't wait to get back, or that it's too long on any one perspective?
I obviously was way more invested in Kara and Connor, but because Marcus kind of has the overarching plot of it all, it was interesting. It was like, okay, what's happening?
It was worthwhile.
What's happening on the grand scale of it all,
Sure.
you know?
Sure.
Yeah, there's definitely there's definitely some very cool moments with Marcus that I didn't see coming. There's just some stuff, particularly kind of midway through and towards the end, that I'm just like, why? What? This didn't add up. This didn't need to happen, kind of thing. So, particularly like, when it comes to like some of the other characters, yeah, I think that's probably the weakest part of Marcus. Is not necessarily Marcus. It's the people that Marcus is associated with, and how those dynamics play out. It's just like, how are you here right now? How are you okay? Right? I don't understand how you. Yeah. So and like, why is this conversation happening? So yeah, it just sort of feels like those characters with Marcus are just sort of, they're just embodying the different choices you could make rather than feeling like actual characters.
Sure. It's funny how your heart can harden to certain things, because I remember playing the E3 demo of Detroit and being really impressed, but then just a lot of negativity about Quantic Dream and David Cage came up, and it made me think about the things that I didn't like and not the things that I did like. And just hearing you guys describe it and really going into detail about like, hey, I think this is better. Here's why this is worthwhile. Here's how this works. I don't know. I was just hard finding motivation to be like, do I really want to sit through 12 hours of this? And I think you've really made a case for it.
Yeah, I mean, there are articles about like they don't agree with the way that the game portrays women. But I'm a man, but my wife is a woman, and she didn't see a problem with it and loved it. She loves that game so much.
Yeah,
so it's just a matter of
anyone
who you talk to and
pick up on certain things and not pick up on certain things, just because, like, who knows? Like, I haven't actually played it myself, but so I can't evaluate how much of a problem.
Spoiler mode, Ben. Get in there. Get in there, Ben.
I don't think he's gonna have a chance.
I don't think I'm gonna have a chance.
We're gonna be trying to shoot that the week after
Connor,
E3.
dude.
I need to play some Onrush is what I need to do. I want to, and I do feel like I'll get to it. Huber, okay, so like I'm running out of time for stuff. I don't want to play more BlazBlue. I'm on this Pokemon kick. I want to talk about Pokemon Sun. I don't think we have time. I did finish Pokemon Sun.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
And had a great time.
Nice.
It was just like, this is just for me fun.
Yeah.
I have a lot of things to say about Pokemon Sun. I don't know if we're going to get to it in this episode. But anyway, if you had to prioritize between Vampyr, which sounds really interesting, and Detroit for a limited amount of time, a competitive space.
Oh my God, why are you doing this to me right now?
Because I get it all the time, our audience gets it all the time. We don't have all the time. We're out of time.
I really, and I think they too, I really want to see your take on Detroit. Because I think, and Detroit is a controversial game. People are talking about a lot of aspects of this game.
Sure.
I would say Detroit.
I like that.
Yeah.
That was firm. The reason why we're not going to talk about Pokemon Sun, hopefully, there's some good things to say about Pokemon Sun. Hopefully we'll get to it in another episode. But I really want to create enough space for today's HOTTAKE! And the reason I want to do that is because I'm very excited, and I think it could be very long, and we have a lot to talk about. So last time, we built a tower of hype, okay? And it was a lot of fun. We talked about the E3, we had a huge list of games. We're like, this is going to be really exciting. This is going to be less exciting. But because we had so many things to work with, in my opinion, we didn't really get to dig into the conversations and the reasons why and really hammer it out on why we think some things will make an impact and why others don't. So I want to make this one a little bit more intimate. And I actually asked the panelists ahead of time to fill out cards. They all have their cards there. 3 categories. I wanted you to pick a big thing that you thought would be a surefire success no matter what. I wanted you to pick something that you think people are sleeping on. Game that is going to be special and talked about at the end of this, but is not getting the hype it needs right now. And I wanted you to give me the thing that you think is going to be disappointing, that's going to leave kind of a bad taste in our mouths after E3 is over. So those 3 things, we're not going to do... I want to keep the panelists on their toes. And so we're going to bounce around for different panelists in different categories. I'm going to mostly let them speak. I've made a list as well. But I want to know, Michael Huber, give me a strong case for what you think is going to disappoint us at E3? What is going to leave a bad taste in our mouth?
Disappointment?
Yes.
Days Gone.
Whoa.
I'm actually blown away because you've been the one going to bat for Days Gone the hardest out of any of the allies.
Yeah. I'm speaking. This is not just me speaking for myself, though, with the disappointment, right?
Sure.
I think it's going to disappoint everyone.
I think that totally works, but I need reasons.
Okay, I think, for one, people have already made up their mind about this game, and they're looking for something to set it apart from just another open world survival post-apocalyptic zombie game, and I don't think we're going to get that. I think everything we've seen about Days Gone is exactly what Days Gone is. It's nothing more, nothing less, and we're not going to get something drastically different or crazy to shake it up.
Yeah.
So I think, people that are maybe on the fence or that are against the game are just gonna we're gonna see it again, and people are just gonna write it off again. They're just gonna be like, oh my god, I'm so sick of hearing about this game.
But hearing Brandon talk about it and hearing you talk about it, the reason you are excited for Days Gone is because you do think there are things in it that are going to separate it.
Well, I think the I like the survival aspect of it,
Right.
and there's obviously comparisons to Last of Us, but this is open world, and I really want to see how the open world plays out with kind of the crafting and the gasoline with your motorcycle. I think of Mad Max, and it's like, dude, the gas was not important, man. I never ran out. I was never worried. I always had gas in my tank. Give me that. I told Jones on the thing, it was like, dude, this game desperately, what it needs to not be a disappointment, it desperately needs a hardcore mode. A mode where maybe if you die, game over. Supplies, super limited. Gas, good luck finding gas. I think if they crank that up to 11, also have your normal mode that you can easily go through and experience the story. But I
don't think so. I think this game lives and dies on risk.
Yeah, I say they risk it and go all in on survival, make this game hardcore.
Yeah, especially from with their original pitch 2 years ago now at E3, but we want to make an open world that feels dangerous.
Yeah, from the hands-on time that I had, it did not feel very dangerous.
Yeah, and that's really what it's gonna take to be, to make it feel like not just a slog of going through and doing these things and
checklists.
I gotta pick
quests.
up a bunch of junk. It's no, I need that stuff to survive.
Like Evil Within.
I would say, and I haven't had any hands-on time with it, so you were obviously the most qualified when it comes to speaking to this game. But I would say prior to this year, and maybe even just the last couple of months, last year at E3, I think we were still in the reveal, make it exciting, make it flashy, make it short period with Days Gone. When you have Sony getting out there and saying, hey, this is one of the games that we're focusing on. We're taking a deep dive into this. Do you think that could be a chance for a second life for Days Gone to convince the naysayers and really, because they're spending more time with it, give a better sense of why it's special?
I don't know. I'm really worried about the public perception of this game. I think people are either on board or they're not. I think there's obviously people on the fence.
So it kind of sounds like you're saying that there's very little it could do to change the people who've already made their minds up.
Yeah, I mean, all the criticism is it's just another blank. It's just another open world zombie game. So they're over it,
Yeah.
For me, that's enough. I like open world games. I like zombie games.
Right.
Looks cool to me. But I think people expecting anything more than that are going to be disappointed at E3.
I feel like this game is never going to be able to demo well. I feel like whatever the strengths this game has can't be shown in even 20 minutes. It's got to have a lot of time to really see how all of these world dynamics really play out. And it's in that time investment that it will prove itself to either be something that's really different or something that's just very vanilla and the same that people are expecting.
It sounds like one of those reviews will be extra valuable because only at that point in the evaluation process we'll be able to understand what it's all about. Daniel Bloodworth, give me the surefire hit of E3.
The surefire hit of E3, The Last of Us Part 2.
Why?
because I think Naughty Dog just knows how to nail it and knock it out of the park in terms of story and gameplay and presentation. And, it's like they're always pushing themselves to make the best game that they can. And I think when you're doing that and when you have the backing that they have, like, there's not much chance for things to go wrong. Like, if they had some giant, like, schism or they had lost, like, half their staff or something, then maybe you could think that there's something rocky. But, like, they're still in pretty much the same place that they were with Uncharted 4. Mm-hmm. So I feel like there's not really any reason to doubt that game.
I want to throw two things at you that might be an argument against this. The second trailer for Last of Us Part 2 was very divisive, and Huber has told me that Last of Us Part 2 is a game that is about hatred. That in a trailer, when you're trying to convey hatred, that intensity, that viciousness, I think depending on how you present it, it can give you... A bad vibe is a weak way to say what I'm saying, but sometimes it's hard to take a vertical slice of hate and make it compelling and interesting rather than repulsive.
Yeah.
So is that something you think Last of Us Part 2 has to worry about?
I think it kind of does. I mean, hopefully it somehow makes that work and makes a case for it, because when you're talking about, hatred, like, that's one of those things where it can knock you out of how well you connect to a character. Mm-hmm. Like, if you just feel like a character is being unreasonable and, like, you want them to get over it, then...
That's why a lot of people don't like Joel.
Yeah, so that could be a roadblock for people. But if somehow, like, they manage to make that story work and make you kind of always see where that person's coming from, even if they're wrong, I think it could still be fairly compelling, yeah.
I don't have any doubt that the finished product of The Last of Us Part 2 will be compelling. Huber, do you think they have an uphill battle at E3 specifically in this venue?
I really hope they show gameplay. I really hope they show game. If they don't show gameplay, disappointment.
Yeah,
it is time. It is time. Just a little slice, just like a 2-minute thing.
Is there a concern? And I actually kind of saw this with the first Uncharted 4 gameplay trailer, where it's like, it's just it's Uncharted, it's more of the same. Is that a concern with Last of Us Part 2, where they do show you a little bit of gameplay, and people are like, I knew what that was.
It's so frustrating. We've talked about this, Ben.
Yeah.
Where the expectations are 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
They deliver a 10 out of 10, so it's just business as usual, whatever. Like, that is fine.
It is immensely frustrating.
Yeah, because like their bar is so high, when they match the bar, it's somehow a failure. Like, I can't
believe Joel didn't team up with Cloud Strife, and that they're both in Smash. Well, how boring.
Yeah.
That's annoying. Yeah.
It's like, it just looks like Last of Us 1.
Right.
Or something, yeah.
That's because it's a sequel to The Last of Us.
Exactly.
No, but not to be too flippant. I do think there is like a kernel of something there where, there are people that are like, the stealth in The Last of Us wasn't that great. It was a little bit clunky, or the shooting wasn't quite as tight as I wanted it to be. Do you think there's a way to convincingly say this is a better feeling game than what we got years ago in 2013, I think?
2 initials. A. I.
Okay, what's the I going to do for us?
So if they show, if say you play as the unnamed protagonist with the hammer, right? If they show a gameplay demo of her with the hammer and the other 2 kids, just show those kids kicking ass and taking names. That's what I want to see. Like stealth, where, and I think that's getting better all the time. I think of like Metal Gear, Phantom Pain, and just like your sidekicks actually contributing, actually doing stuff.
Yep. To the point of ridiculousness in Phantom Pain. Yeah, they're really good in Phantom Pain.
OP, right?
Yeah.
So I think they could easily convey and show that just by really focusing in on the NPC sidekicks, companions.
I want to talk about the game that I think people are sleeping on. And I feel, out of my 3 different things, I feel the most confident about this one. I think people are sleeping on Metro Exodus.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Is that the game that you picked for? I hoped it would be. Yeah, Michael Huber.
I knew it.
Okay,
Yes.
I really think people are sleeping
Yes.
on Metro Exodus.
Yep.
I think people are either they don't have any experience with Metro.
Yeah, I think that's it.
I think, and because they don't have any experience with Metro, they're just like, it's just another post-apocalyptic survival game with some weird creatures. But playing through Last Light, and I can't speak to 2033, but playing through Last Light, they really have an incredible sense of world building when you're going through just not only the destroyed part of the world, but the points where there are civilizations, the way that they do environmental storytelling.
The quote-unquote towns are definitely one of the high points of those games.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And just like overhearing conversations that people are having, how rich and detailed that stuff is, taking that, giving it like years and all of the improvements that they can make. You talk about like the AI improving in Last of Us Part 2. I think about how much more convincing the world can be in Metro Exodus now with improved technology.
Yeah, even going from Last Light to from 2033 to Last Light, and even the remaster that came out, the Redux.
Yeah.
Easy way to get caught up. The Redux, it's a double pack. You got them both.
Yeah.
Boom.
And I can't help but think of The Witcher. And people say like going back to The Witcher 1 how rough it is and how much of a jump
What
there
a
was
great comparison.
in Witcher 2, and then it's
Yeah.
and then you have the world understanding moment kind of with Witcher 3 where
Yes.
that is commonly praised as just this incredible RPG where
Great
people really
comparison.
catch on. I think maybe not to that level, right? Because Witcher 3 I think is a very popular video game, but I think maybe you're going to kind of see that progression with
Yeah.
Metro, and the world is gonna catch on. Honestly, I'm going to be. I think the most interesting category is the game people are sleeping on. Huber, you just said that yours was Metro Exodus.
yeah.
Daniel Bloodworth, what is the game people are sleeping on?
Mutant Year Zero: Road to Eden.
What a cool pick. What is it? I think with Mutant Year Zero, you have to describe what it is.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to what we've saying with both of these. It is like a post-apocalyptic game, but basically, think of taking the XCOM style combat and putting that into a fully fledged RPG with a world that you explore and story as you do all of that. And so you're going out into the world, you explore the world in real time, and then when you come across enemies, you get into turn-based combat encounters.
That sounds like it's one of those ideas that you hear and you're like, wow, if all of that works perfectly, that sounds incredible. It also sounds extremely ambitious.
Sure.
Are you worried that it's not going to all come together because it's trying to do such a cool thing?
So far from what I've seen, I don't have any reason to be worried. I've actually, I got a demo of it at GDC. We're going to get hands-on time at E3, so we'll see how it plays out in person. But yeah, I mean, I think one of the things, like, not just from the concept of it, but just the execution so far, the game looks really good, and the environments are interactive. Like, you can blow up the house, and it's like that house is blown up. There's no cover there, and you can hack into a robot and turn it against the squad that was going to use it against you, if you're stealthy enough to get back there to the robot's controls.
I don't think that will ever get passé for me. Hacking into something in a video game and taking control of it will always remain exciting.
Oh, yeah.
On a very basic level. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's just like the weird side of things where like you've got a giant pig as one of the characters, and
You
then
got a duck man, right?
a guy named Dux who looks like Daffy Duck, and you can put a top hat on him to improve his sniper ability. It's like
So jolly. Now we just need a gun
man.
scythe, Ben. Then we're
Right.
Then we're
Gun
10 out of
scythe.
10.
Yep. Like, I will always think the gun blade from Final Fantasy VIII is an incredible weapon.
Yeah.
For the dumbest reason.
Yeah, it's try hard.
Oh,
whatever.
Yes, it is.
It is overplayed.
Yes.
Whatever.
Yes.
I don't care. Dude has
I
a
want it
gun
in my
blade.
house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something about like stabbing someone and then shooting. Like,
Yep. Or just doing a slice and hearing the
So
Very good.
cool.
It's very good. Not a lot to say beyond that. But did you get a sense of the world? Like, did you interact with townsfolk? Did you get to do any side quests?
There is a
anything
little
like
bit of that. There is like a city there that you go back to, kind of trading goods and get gear. And it sounds like there's some authorities there, as well as like, yeah, you can do side quests for like the shopkeeper and stuff. It also sounds like there's, potentially a part of the story where like they're not telling you everything.
Oh.
It's like you kind of get this feeling like it's just us, and there's like nobody out there except for violent, mercenaries or whatever. But I think that there's probably some deceit going on there. There's probably more further out into the world once you start going outside of the fences, outside of the leashes that are put on you.
That's a good hook.
Hype. You got me hyped, Bloodworth.
Huber, what is the surefire success of E3?
Death Stranding.
Good pick.
2 words. Hideo Kojima. That's it. That's it. That's all I need to say.
Some people
Master.
would argue that name doesn't have as much weight behind it anymore. They were disappointed in the story of Phantom Pain and how crazy it was.
But to dive into that, it's not. It's morally gray. It's not that simple, He's going through Konami craziness,
right? Also,
hostile work environment.
There's a lot of lore to bring together or to reference in Metal Gear. Not so in Death Stranding.
But now he's free from the shackles of 22 decades of lore, right?
Yeah.
He's free from that. He's free from the shackles of Konami.
Yeah.
He now has the full backing of Sony and time. I feel like, obviously,
he's working with Cerny.
Obviously, Sean Layden is gonna go Cory Barlog style, like, yo, ship it, let's go, obviously, Sony wants him to put this game out, but I feel like this feels like patient Kojima, where I'm ready to wait years for this game. It doesn't matter, but
Kojima said we would regret our words and deeds when it came to Quiet's story, and I sure don't.
Yeah, but he probably got hit so hard by internet trolls.
I'm just pushing back. I'm just pushing back.
Definitely.
Is Death Stranding going to be Kojima too in love with himself? Is it going to make sense? Is it going to be meaningful? Is it going to be powerful?
Well, I think you look who's involved in this too. Norman Reedus is like a champion for this game. He's hyping it up so hard. They're coming off the PT with him and Guillermo del Toro. This is a game. This is like a phoenix, dude. Everything about this game just streams Phoenix rising from the ashes. Konami shuts down PT. The dreams of Guillermo del Toro working with him are dashed. Yet here we are. You got Mads Mikkelsen in there. It's just everyone involved in this game. Everything is coming from the right place. It's not, an existing franchise. It's not like, we got to make another Metal Gear because it's Metal Gear. Let's keep making this game because this franchise is so huge. Let's just make something we want to make and love and care about. And the messaging that I've received just from what they've shown and talked about is exactly that. It's everything's coming from a good place.
Is this a Phoenix Rising, Bloodworth?
Yeah, I get that sense as well. That Kojima many times had said that this is the last Metal Gear. And so
I think he meant last in the timeline, like MGS4.
No, I think he meant that he was not going to make another Metal Gear game, and then he made another Metal Gear game. Again, going back to Silent Hills, that was probably going to tie into Silent Hill some way, but not very well.
You can make an argument that
that could have very well been its own franchise, and been just as incredible. I think that. Yeah, I think that he's had a lot of ideas that don't really necessarily fit into those franchises, and so this is just an opportunity for him to be creative, to do something fresh, to do something new.
Yeah. And the trailer the newest trailer is so sick, dude. It's so good. It's like, just when I think I'm over it and I've watched it too many times, or it's been shared on Twitter, YouTube too many times, just when I'm like, dude, enough, Death Stranding, it's 10 years away, I watch it again and I'm just like, oh my god.
Watching the Death Stranding, it had been a while since I had seen that Death Stranding trailer, and watching it during our Hype Fest, which you should check out if you haven't, because it's fun. I was captivated. That trailer was creepy. It was mysterious. It was intense. It was funny. It was exciting. It was an exciting thing to watch. You didn't know what was going to happen at any moment.
So I think I think it's a surefire hit, because I just think if we see more of the game, like, that's it. Like, I part of me is not expecting gameplay. Like, there is this side of me that's like, maybe not any gameplay, but if we get a trailer, I think it's going to be a different tone. I think it's going to be something different, because the first two trailers are kind of similar. You know, you have the military and the, you know, guys in cloaks. It's kind of got a similar feel and a similar tone. I think the next time we see Death Stranding, if it's not gameplay, it'll be drastically different than what we've seen. Kind of eye-opening. Those Kojima moments, right? When you're just like, wait, what? Like, oh, this is Death Stranding? What?
The moments that you have to talk about with somebody. My surefire hit, to the surprise of no one, is Devil May Cry 5. And I've already talked a lot about Devil May Cry 5, and so I don't want to drone on and on and on. But I want to make a point and say that I think even if you don't care about Devil May Cry, or don't think that you care about Devil May Cry, or it's just not on your radar, I think this game is going to be that good that you will care. I think it will make a case for itself. I think it will be more than just another Devil May Cry game. I think because it'll be an Itsuno game, he will show us something in there that is extra special. And I think, like, I hope that they do some of the most fun things that were in 4. I hope that there's some sort of devil bringer. I hope you can switch between styles. But more than that, I think they'll take risks with it. I think narratively there could be some crazy stuff that happens. I think about the ending of Dragon's Dogma and how just utterly wowed I was with how crazy it was. I couldn't believe that they were doing it. And the way that they tied into the pawns and what those pawns actually were. Maybe it won't be that crazy, but I think Devil May Cry could surprise us. I think it'll be more than just a sequel. And I think evidence of that is how willing they are to mess around with Devil May Cry. You think about Devil May Cry 1 to 2, which is not the best comparison, but 3, all of the elements that game brings in, the way that it incorporates Virgil, the crazy characters like Arkham and Lady, the way it incorporates styles. Devil May Cry 4, you have this whole new character, Nero, who you play as for the first half of the game. Like, I think this is a game that will be more than just another action game, and I really think people are going to be excited about it.
Will Dante wear a red coat?
Yes.
It's one of the bets.
It
was our baby bet.
It's a good baby bet.
Yeah.
But what's going to disappoint us at E3?
I don't want it to disappoint us, but I think it has the most potential to disappoint me. Metroid Prime 4.
Why?
Because we know nothing about who's heading that up, who's developing it, what kind of direction it's going to go in. You know, it's just, it's Metroid Prime shouldn't have worked to begin with.
He's right.
It sounded like a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Some of my friends still didn't like the way it felt. It didn't, you know, just because it just felt slower than a Metroid game, quote unquote, should feel.
Yeah.
But you know, like Retro really pulled it off and really did something special with Metroid Prime, and now see someone just try to replicate that. I don't know how well that's gonna play out, and especially without knowing who it is and what kind of direction they're going to go in. Like even something as you know, seemingly insignificant as art style could make a huge difference, you know,
right,
as to whether like this feels like a cool new thing or if it feels somehow dated or it doesn't like fit the Metroid tone well enough, you know, like there's a lot of there's a lot of potential for it to go the wrong direction.
Change is scary.
Well, and it's hard to forget about bad experiences, right? The last time another group got their hands on Metroid on a console was Other M, and that is an infamous game for how it handled many aspects of the Metroid universe. And so, I think it's reasonable to not be worried. However, do you think because of the response to things like Other M and Federation Force, and even to some degree Samus Returns, that they'll play more conservatively with Prime 4?
Well, I hope they don't play conservatively, but yeah, I would hope that they're aware.
I'm just saying, not yammering about the baby.
Right. Yeah, that would be good. It's a little hard to say like where, because again, like Other M's story was done by same guy, you know, like it wasn't like Team Ninja was responsible for that. So it is this weird place where it's like there's no guarantees. And I think the other thing that's really difficult with Metroid Prime 4 in this day and age is that we have seen a lot of great Metroidvanias from a lot of different studios. Yeah. And so now Metroid has real competition.
But what I like about Retro's approach to getting their hands on these legendary things, and it applies to both Donkey Kong and with Metroid, is they're not talking a lot. We're just going into these worlds and having a good time. And that's what I want to see about Metroid Prime 4. I don't need you to wow me with super long cinematics or lore dumps or any of this. Like that's not what I think of when I think of Metroid. Just give me that sense of isolation, give me that sense of fear, give me that sense of exploration, and we're golden. Don't overcomplicate this.
Change is scary but exciting.
Yeah, I
think of all these franchises, I think of Resident Evil changing and Metroid changing and Castlevania, and it's kind of scary, but I think the fact that it's called Metroid Prime 4 is like, we're going back to the roots, but hopefully, like you said, they don't play it too conservative. It's conservatively. It's like we're going back, but we're gonna push forward because there's a 4 on it. You know?
Yeah, and I should be a little bit more accurate when I was saying about they don't talk a lot. Like that changed as Prime went on as well.
Yeah.
There was a lot more character in Metroid Prime 3 as well, and so. Yeah, I don't know. I guess the point I'm trying to make is I feel like sometimes when people think of like, okay, we have our hands on this thing or we need to change this franchise, they always do it in the same ways where it's like we've got to be more cinematic, we've got to have more talking, and I just that drives me up a wall sometimes. Like, I don't know. Believe in your audience, I guess. So I think we've done all 3 for you.
Yeah.
We've done all 3 for you because of Metro. Yeah. And so the only one left, and it's not a very interesting disappointment pick, but it was the one, like, I kept going through the list, and I'm like, I think this has the most likelihood to disappoint, and that is Anthem. I'm
kind of with you, not because it's Anthem's fault, but because of EA's press conference. Yeah. Like, they're going to show it poorly.
I feel like Anthem is a game that has too much riding on it, and I think that is a bad recipe.
But I think it's in a really, really good spot to capitalize on Destiny 2's audience. Like, Destiny 2's slipping. They just showed the new Destiny 2 expansion coming out, but then, of course, that's $40. Then there's the annual pass now that's another, like, 30 or 20 or $30. So, like, you can buy the $70 bundle to keep playing Destiny 2, or if Anthem nails it,
but
the thing, you can just wait and commit to that.
But it is weird though, because like was it last week? I think they sent us the key art for Anthem. Basically, what's the box art, and it's just this face with the word Anthem going straight down the middle of it, and it looks like it could have come straight out of Destiny 2 or Destiny 3. Yeah. And so there's like this unwillingness to budge, to differentiate themselves, so they really do want to hit that audience.
Coming for it.
Exactly. And I think about PUBG and I think about Fortnite, and I remember when Fortnite announced that it would have a Battle Royale mode, and the talk was oh, they're just trying to play Me Too. This won't be very interesting, yada, yada, yada. Fortnite, a reason it is so successful is because of how wildly different it is. It's not even really all that close to the experience that you'll get in PUBG. Just moment to moment, how it feels is what makes it exciting in comparison to all of the other Battle Royale games out there. And with Anthem, that is exactly what I'm worried about. Like, yeah, you're right, Huber. Sure, there are people mad at Destiny. Sure, there might be an audience out there that is looking for a replacement. But if that replacement is too similar or feels hollow, that's like a month-long commitment at max, and then they'll move on to the next thing.
Totally.
And that's what I'm worried about, is that Anthem won't make a case for, no, you'll want to be with us for years.
Right.
Will there be a Battle Royale mode?
In Anthem?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
The one thing I'm think could be a benefit, but I'm also curious is how it'll work if it is Destiny style. But I think, I mean, this is BioWare. Like, this is a company known for telling stories and making choices in stories.
Right.
And Destiny's kind of flopped on the story front. Yeah. Like grimoire cards and all that crazy weirdness. It's like there's stuff there, but it's not told in a way that engages you very well.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I feel like, and too, like much of the gameplay, like it doesn't necessarily feel like you're going out and exploring a world. It feels like you're just going into an instance. Mm-hmm. So I think there's definitely space there that Anthem could show it up. It could give people a more interesting reason to come into this world.
Huge maps.
I just don't know
planets.
if those things pair well with this long-term, keep coming back to it mentality.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I side on disappointment is I think in order to do that, in order to have a world that I want to be in, it has to be visually interesting. It has to be exciting and different. And the way the worlds look, the way the characters look, it feels like I've seen it before. And when you have a trailer where you have faux, like, gamer talk, how do you not be cynical? It doesn't feel like you're trying to make something new. It feels like you're trying to capitalize on the same thing. And that's
extremely fair.
What's disappointing. Thank you guys for giving reasons on all that stuff. That was fun. We're ready to move on to emails.
Will Sum 41 be at EA's press conference?
No.
Good Charlotte, I mean. I'm sorry. I botched that joke. Will Good Charlotte be there?
No.
Okay.
But you know what? It would make it a more interesting press conference. I guarantee it.
This is the Anthem. And they're there. If they were actually there.
Have you seen the Anthem video?
No.
Okay. Go look it up.
I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, they're like on these bikes and they're just like rolling in, trying to look so cool. If they came in,
oh my gosh,
to the EA press conference and they just start jumping around, this is the Anthem. Yeah, it'd be great. Okay, our first email comes in from Brandon. He says, "What to make of pre-E3 announcements?" Hey everyone, well, it seems like one of the yearly traditions is to ask if there are any surprises left and what else could the conferences show. I thought I would look at it in a different light. What is the quality of the pre-E3 announcements? Sure, the press conferences are analyzed to great detail, as they should be, but the news before the news is always so quickly forgotten. So, knowing what Rage 2, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and other titles look like, what are the panel's thoughts about the quality of announcements before the show? Did they get you excited to see more of what they were? Did reveals like the new Tetris VR game and Days Gone release date fit appropriately for what they were in relation to the lead up of the show? As always, thanks for taking my email if you do, and stay easy, fellow allies. What has been the quality of the stuff that we've gotten before the show?
Thumbs up.
Why? What specifically is giving you a thumbs up?
Rage 2? Very excited about Rage 2 now.
What did they do to get you interested?
The tone of the trailer, just it looks like good fun, you know. Rage 1 had some fun and humor to it, but it was pretty serious, pretty dreary, you know, brown and dust and dirt everywhere.
Right.
But the new trailer got me excited, and it got me excited to see more of the game.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Are we talking about leaks as well, or just announcements?
I think he's using the word news.
Okay. Yeah, announcements, I think.
So I actually think he's including leaks as well.
Okay.
Like, did everything before E3 get you more interested in those games specifically? So that would include Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's what's interesting is how Assassin's Creed handled it. It's like, okay, this time here it is. This game exists. Here's 10 seconds. Come see it at E3.
Right.
Yeah. The Hitman 2 Shadow Drop.
Yes.
That was
my God.
pretty cool.
Yeah, and the release date for this year, Hitman right now is number 1 in terms of pre-E3 announcements, without a doubt.
Okay. Yeah, I think especially if you know you're not going to be in a press conference, that like, good call doing that the week before rather than waiting until the middle of the madness.
Crushed it.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of things that have worked for me. I think knowing about Assassin's Creed the way that we know, where we don't really have a lot to associate with it, has kind of been a bad news thing. Like I wish there was,
Like,
I wish there was more to that
me,
announcement.
If I have no idea what the next Assassin's Creed is, and we're watching the press conference, and all of a sudden we see 300,
Right.
last Spartan stand, like,
And
that's exciting.
Right, and there's a period of time where you're like, this could be anything.
Yeah.
And now we know any sort of Greek thing at all during the Ubisoft press conference is going to be Assassin's Creed.
And the rumors that it's going to be even before Origins, and like Bayek and Aya are not even going to be there. It's just it's like we just had Origins. We just had this huge, after a year off, Assassin's Creed Origins that didn't even really do a phenomenal job of like tying the whole franchise together like I kind of wanted it to, being that they took a year off, being that they gave it the subtitle Origins. Now we're going back even more in the past. Like, that does not excite me. It excited, like, obviously Spartans, Kratos. I'm excited.
Right.
But like, to go even further back, is kind of disappointing. And I'm really, really surprised that we have not had another character trilogy like with Ezio. I think that was a fantastic thing they did.
Tying it together.
Easily the best like arc of Assassin's Creed. And I think they could have done it with Bayek and Aya, because they're two good characters, like, I would have loved to be her.
For me, as much as I'm excited about it, as much as I think it's going to do really well at E3, it's disappointing to be so certain that Devil May Cry 5 is going to be there. I think with any game where it's been so long since you've had an entry like this, you want that element of, maybe it won't be there. And so when it does happen, you're just so excited. And I think now it's going to be like, yeah, of course, this now it is here. It's just not as thrilling in that sense.
You know what I really hope they do is with Assassin's Creed is have it tie in more to the modern day. Like, let's start wrapping this thing up.
With Assassin's Creed?
Yeah, this is like a never-ending Ferris wheel or something.
Well, now I just kind of feel.
Just,
I mean, I haven't gotten through Origin, so I don't know where exactly it's at. But I just kind of feel like nothing's happening.
I think
Yeah.
I
There
honestly
was
get the
one-
sense that they're not that interested in doing that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There was one crucial piece of information regarding the Animus in Assassin's Creed Origins, and that's it. There's just one little thing that's like, that has like heavy implications moving forward. I see what you did there, like kind of swept that in there. But, to be so invested in this franchise for so long,
Right.
as a fan, like, I want it to start tying back together, and it's kind of disheartening as a fan, like,
Give us a reason to care.
Yeah. The setting is not enough anymore. Like, that kind of novelty has kind of lessened.
Man, I think it's still there for me because I'm so checked out and not invested.
Exactly. For you probably it's just like, where are they going?
Right.
Oh, I'm into that setting. Let's go there.
That's it. Because I can't even I don't even know what specifically you're disappointed in.
Well, that's why I want them to either start tying it all back in, or just start
Chop
over.
it. Yep.
Start over and chop.
agree.
They're stringing me along. You know.
They are.
So
Playing with your emotions. I do want to mention Tetris.
Tetris.
And like, to me, that's kind of the perfect thing to separate outside of E3, where I think it is exciting and I think it is really cool and it's something different. But amidst the noise of E3, maybe would have gotten lost. And so here, it's kind of been given enough time to root itself in my brain.
Yeah.
And it's going to be harder to forget about, I think.
And Twin Mirror today got announced.
Twin Mirror,
From
right.
Don't Nod.
Yeah.
Totally thought it was going to be Life is Strange 2 or something, and they're just like, hey, well, here's this other game we're working on too. It's the adventure game. You wake up, you got like blood on your shirt. You gotta run.
Right.
It looks cool though.
Yeah, one thing what I think is very interesting, and I don't think they've done anything since then. I could be wrong. I don't actually follow it as the. It's like a couple of weeks or months ago when the Cyberpunk Twitter account
Is this on?
Is this on? Yeah, that's it. That's
Oh
it.
my
It's like
goodness, hype.
we haven't tweeted for a while.
Hype.
Here you go.
What's so
Something's
good
happening.
is I feel like, to my knowledge, nothing substantial for Cyberpunk has dripped out. I haven't heard any huge details about
Yeah.
it, and they've teased me just enough that they've done it. They've nailed the pre-E3 hype.
And I do love that Sony came out and said we're doing the big deep dive on these
Yes.
4 games
Yes.
because, first of all, those 4 games are exciting.
Yes.
So that's a victory. And it kind of keeps our expectations in line. It doesn't like temper them. I'm not like, okay,
it
maybe
focuses
this,
us.
It focuses,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think that's important, especially for Sony, where expectations are out of control
Yep.
every year.
Every year.
As they should be.
When you have a Shenmue 3 and Final Fantasy 7 remake year, you're gonna be
Yeah.
paying for that for life.
Just Cause 4 got announced
In the worst way.
in the worst possible
In
way.
the worst possible way. Bad news.
Yeah, I think I heard, but how did that actually end up happening?
Steam ad.
Steam ad. Boot up Steam, boom, pre-order Just Cause 4. Yeah, someone
Sucking-
got fired.
Yeah, that's a bad way to go.
Terrible.
That's been the majority of the bad leaks this year have been retail stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's been really a mess on that front.
There's one leak that really hurts me that I wish I knew nothing about. You know, the word right now is that the leaks are kind of stealing all the fun of it all.
I still have faith.
And I still have a lot of faith. I honestly, there've been a lot of leaks, but I don't think they've been that bad. And some of them are
What is the one that has hurt you the most?
Ubisoft game. That's not Assassin's Creed.
Ah,
That
I know what you're talking
that
about.
one.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
That's fair.
Like that's pretty much a certainty at this point.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah,
And
it
that
is.
would have been that's going to be a great moment.
Yeah. I mean, they've teased it enough themselves that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Still, though, even if you're expecting it, there's no
I agree.
guarantees.
I agree.
Whereas
That's
now,
what I was kind of talking about with Devil May Cry. And,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think to wrap up this email, to answer it, I think when the game companies have been kind of in control of how they disseminate this information, it's been, for the most part, pretty successful for us, where it's been exciting. They've done it well. They've given us a reason to be excited or curious at the very least. But when it's just been Steam ads, really like, or leaks, and the information doesn't come at all, or it comes much later, and there's that lack of control, I think it's been kind of disappointing. Unnecessary waits is our next email from Troy. He says, "Hey allies, can you recall any moments or mechanics from games that weren't outright bad but felt unnecessary and weighed down an otherwise good experience? For example, I just recently finished all 5 endings to Nier Automata, or main endings, and I'm currently going for the Platinum Trophy. I think Nier Automata is a special game, and I really dug its themes, overall story. However, there were several flaws for me in this game, such as enemy variety and combat with 9S both get mundane after spending several hours with it." I'm cutting out some of this email, but yeah, essentially the point is, have you had some games where those things have kind of brought it down for you?
Vampyr.
Yeah,
The
that's what I
combat.
immediately thought of.
Like,
Yeah,
you know, it that the serviceable to bad combat is bringing down the excellent world and characters and story, you know, so that kind of hurts.
we've kind of kicked this horse a lot, but Ni no Kuni 2 for me, just I don't mind simple action combat, but with Ni no Kuni 2 so far in my experience, it's been so simple and there's so much of it that I've just kind of been like, ugh.
And it never changes.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak to the whole game, but yeah, what I've experienced so
Yeah.
far, definitely.
No, I finished it and it never changes.
Okay,
like,
well-
straight up.
Okay.
Square.
You got any
Uh,
blood?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about this a bit before, but with the Trailblazers, like that is a game that is basically dropped down because of its unnecessary waits. You know, it's you get halfway through the campaign and then it just stops being creative and just starts throwing the same thing at you over and over again, and then and then the way that they have done multiplayer, it just doesn't feel like it's very rewarding. It rewards the wrong things. And so it's just like, if you just tweak these things in the design, like, I would have way more fun with this game. I still enjoy the game. I still recommend the game to people with reservations. But yeah, if it just had not gone in those directions, it could have been, a lot easier to recommend to people.
Sure.
I got one more.
Yeah, hit me.
Battlefront 2.
The whole game?
Yeah, just the whole, like, if those loot boxes were not there from the beginning,
yeah,
would have been an entirely different story.
That's not like a minor thing, though. I feel like that's a bulldozer.
They changed it.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying at the outset.
True. Yeah.
But no, a good thing to bring up. Another one for me is Pokemon.
Which one?
Pokemon Sun, having just finished it. Man, it sucks because I have so many good things to say about that game and so many reasons why it made me excited. Because I've wanted to get back into Pokemon for a really long time, and I played X and Y, and I was like, this is cool, but I got bored out of my mind, and I played it for like 15 to 20 hours, and I dropped it. Same thing with Omega Ruby. I played it for like 25 hours, something like that, some good chunk of time, and I fell off. But with Sun and Moon, there were so many good things. There was enough meaningful change. Like the trials that you do, there's one, Huber, that I want you to experience, where you go into this haunted convenience store, and you have these ghost Pokemon. It's a ghost Pokemon trial, and they're causing a ruckus, and you have to go over, and it's like, oh, they moved the cans, and you have to hit the cans, and then you go into your camera, and it's like, where are they? I've got to find them. So you got this mini fatal frame in your Pokemon, and before, a lot of times before that, it's not that you didn't have puzzles and stuff, but a lot of it is like, okay, I'm going to this gym, I gotta fight these people. And so having little cute things like that I thought were really fun. Something I don't like about Pokemon Sun and Moon, everybody talks way too much. And talking a lot isn't a problem, but I hate it in games, and Japanese games in particular have this problem where they repeat the same things way too many times, and they just talk far too long, where it's like that you have 3 text boxes and you needed 1. And that happens to me a lot in Pokemon Sun, and there were a lot of times where it's just like, come on, I get it. And so and beyond just hand-holding, because people talk about Sun and Moon and having a lot of hand-holding, and it does, and that's its own problem, but just beyond that, like, any story beat took too long in Pokemon Sun. So yeah.
Nice.
Our last email, I really like. It is not a question. There's not. Okay. I mean, we can discuss it, but it is informing us.
Okay.
It is Castlevania Grimoire of Souls.
Whoa.
Hello, allies. This is from Chris, by the way. Thank you, Chris. I felt compelled to send an email after hearing one of you say that the new mobile Castlevania game might not be bad on the last episode. Make no mistake, it is bad. I took part in the closed Japan-only beta earlier in May, and there are a few bullet points that I would like to help you see the light. Level design. There is none. Each stage is usually under a minute in length and maybe requires you to jump once or twice. Enemies. They don't really fight back, and enemy variety is non-existent. Expect skeleton warriors. Free-to-play systems. In-game characters encourage you to do gacha as if that somehow makes sense in the context of their depraved world. That is disgusting.
Jeez.
Controls. You dodge roll by quickly swiping left and right with your thumb. Enough said. Story. You taking on the role of a detective investigating and diving into old tomes with magic. Seems like a cool setup, but then you realize it's just a way to get you to pay for classic characters that you play as inside the aforementioned books. I could probably go on, but this email has already gone on long enough. Hope you enjoy E3, Chris. No, that was very succinct and very compelling on why it's total garbage. So I think last time we were trying to express some optimism, like, hey, Castlevania can come back, it can be meaningful, it can be good, and what he is saying is that, no, Konami is still fucked. What do you think about this? As somebody who's super optimistic, Huber, what do you think about this report?
This game sounds like a skip, but I don't think Castlevania is dead. I know it in my bones that we will get a good Castlevania game.
A good one. That's the key.
Yes.
Is a good one.
Whether that is a year from now or 20, that franchise is not dead. It's too iconic. It's too legendary. It's too good to die. It will return one day.
It almost kind of sounds like you're saying like a Star Wars comparison. Like, it is too important that eventually, giving enough time, it will come back. Like,
Yes.
it's too big of a mark.
Yeah. I mean, they just already renewed the Netflix anime for season 3, and season 2 hasn't even aired yet.
And season 1 was dope as fuck.
Yeah, it's cool. So I know it in my bones. Castlevania will be back.
So okay, if we accept that, I think the next question is, how many years do we have to suffer?
We've been suffering.
Right.
So like,
Right.
ugh.
I mean, honestly, Curse of the Moon was
Exactly.
salve on a wound.
Yeah, it was. It really was.
Man,
Idrisil.
boy, that game made me feel real good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feel good game of the year.
Yeah.
For sure. Remember, I accidentally called it Castlevania on my stream.
Yeah.
I was like, Castlevania Curse of the Moon. Oh wait, let's see.
Blood, do you agree with Huber's optimism?
I think we may see more of a situation like with what's happened with Harvest Moon. You know, where it's like Harvest Moon now is not really Harvest Moon, and it's
Right.
Story of Seasons is the real Harvest Moon. Like, it may just convert over to Bloodstained as a series.
But they still make a lot of Harvest Moon games.
They do. It's true.
Are any of them good?
I don't know.
The newer ones, I
That's
mean.
kind of
'Cause
the problem. Is we
N64
don't
one-
know if either one of these series is any good.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's a point of comparison.
But then you also have things like Stardew Valley, which
Right.
kind of capture the conversation. Yeah. I want to believe with you, Huber.
Yeah.
Every time you say it has to come back, I
It
want to be
has
right there
to.
with you. I hope so.
Because, like, it's one thing for me to wish back, like, Onimusha. You know, it had a PlayStation 2 presence.
All I want with Onimusha is just an HD collection.
Me too.
Put it on the disc.
But, like, Onimusha is nowhere near prolific as Castlevania. Like, this is one of the video game franchises of franchises. Like,
Yeah.
how can we not get another big Castlevania game? It just doesn't make sense to me. But then again, nothing Konami does make sense to me. So who am I to say?
I want to hope. Chris, that was an informative email. It was very concise as well, so thank you for that. I'm glad you let us know about Grimoire of Souls. You made a strong case. If you want to correct us, ask us a question, whatever you want to do, email askeasyallies@gmail.com. We've gotten some really good emails lately. Hope to continue that trend. Again, that is askeasyallies@gmail.com. I would like to say a huge thank you to my panelists. It is extremely hot in here. My
Yeah.
throat is getting dry. We're
E3
at
is
3
gonna be
hours and
hot.
6 minutes. Thank you to Daniel Bloodworth sitting next to me. Thank you to Michael Huber. I've been your host, Ben Moore. If you want to support us more, go to patreon.com/easyallies. You are probably, hopefully, maybe watching our E3 coverage right now, where we're going insane, talking about all the crazy announcements.
Talking
And
about the
not
new
crazy
Castlevania
announcements. Talking
game.
about the new Castlevania game. It's definitely going to be there. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.